astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism back with another live video for you today. It's the Friday Lounge. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Sorry we got started a hair late. It's not too bad. And we should also be streaming, if I'm not mistaken, on dLive. Looks like we've got 76 viewers on dLive and 140 on YouTube. So it seems to be working. Hopefully, everyone, let me know if you can hear my voice everywhere. Fine, I hope it is. Yes. Oh, somebody says it's the same time Owen went live. I didn't mean to do that. But this is our show. It is noon. It is Friday, noon Pacific. So this is when we do it. So you guys can, check out either stream, whatever one you want to watch. But we do have some guests with me. As always, we've got, first and foremost, we got Bob from Globebusters. Bob, you there? All right. Bobby. All right, let's go.
Sorry about that.
That's right. Your new headset coming through.
Yeah, my new headset, and I couldn't pull the little microphone thing down because it kind of tucks away and hides. So I'm sitting there fumbling for the mute. But yes, I'm here. Hello.
Good. Hello. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. We also have Rodrigo Ferrari Nunes here. Rodrigo, are you there?
Hello. Good. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Awesome.
Good.
Very great. Sounds great. And last but not least, we have Iru Landucci from the land upside down and down under and all that fun stuff over and across south of
and
here.
Hot.
And hot, yes.
And hot. It's not just upside. You know how is what is living here, man? Upside down, super hot.
It's just impossible.
It's like I don't even wishes to a Jesuit, these conditions. So hello everyone in the chat. Nice to be here as always on Friday. It's a new. I'm starting to miss the shows when we are not live on Friday.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that we're doing it.
Yeah.
And and we should have Globebusters this Sunday, so everybody tune in for that. I do think we'll be taking a little bit of a break after that for the holidays, but for sure we will be there on Sunday. So, definitely check that out. That's on the Globebusters channel. And as always, subscribe to the 24/7 feed, which is, found at Globebusters 2. Bob, is that youtube.com/Globebusters 2? Is that how you get to the 24/7 stream?
Actually, it's youtube.com /Xanadude60 /live.
Oh, okay.
Is the permalink for it. But,
Gotcha.
You can just go to Globebusters 2 and it'll show us live all the time.
Okay, good. And we also have, in the description, links to all of Iru's stuff, all of Rodrigo's stuff, Globebuster stuff, my stuff. So always go to the description if you want links to anybody's channels. But we're here. We're ready to have some conversation. Lots of stuff going on this week. I saw a lot of articles. You guys saw all those articles coming out. Of course, the one by Danny Gallagher. Did you guys see that one?
Oh, God, yes. That guy.
Yeah.
What do you do?
No, it's just ridiculous.
Is that the one that Cammie just shared?
No, that was a different one.
And we can go through them and kind of read through them and highlight some certain parts. But yeah, I knew Danny was trouble when we brought him onto Raw. A lot of people might remember that show. But he's just a comedian, and then at the event, as I was coming in and out of different speaking events, he was always, I'm talking about at the conference, of course, he was always outside in the hallway typing away. So I don't know how you can make comments about a Flat Earth conference if you didn't sit in for any of the actual presentations. It's just you're there to make fun. You're not there to learn anything. So, what are you going to do? It's just what he does, I guess. And just to let people know, in case they wondered, the method that I'm using to restream this, I think I can show this, is called restream.io. I think last week I spoke and called it Mixer. Somebody had told me something about Mixer, but I went there, I didn't see what I needed, and then lucky for me, I'm friends with Nathan Stoltman, who runs the Lift the Veil channel, and he told me he uses restream.io. So, so if anybody goes there, basically you just sign up for an account, and from what I can tell, at least what I use it for is free. You can just see this little button here that says Add Channel. You're able to then add any of these different venues. So there's a lot, LinkedIn, I didn't even know they did anything for videos. I don't know. But there's Loots. A lot of these channels I've never heard of, or a lot of these websites, maybe they're for gaming. I'm not really sure. Ustream's down here. Steam. I don't know. Vaughn Live. A lot of this stuff I haven't heard of. So this is a good place maybe for somebody to go through and check out some of these other venues. But basically, you can just add whatever ones you want. So I added YouTube events and added dLive. And then basically that puts me... hopefully I didn't screw up my stream. No, I'm good. So basically I added YouTube events and dLive. And you just tell it, yes, I approve them to go live for me or whatever. And then you get this stream key down here. Put that into OBS and start your stream. And then it goes live at both this event and this event. So...
Wow.
Pretty cool. Seems to work pretty well. You just have to set up your YouTube event first. And, I'm telling this for anybody that wants to learn to stream dLive. That's, of course, the title of today's show, just because that's what we're doing. If I can find my thumbnail, is, Friday Lounge. Live on dLive, or maybe it means live on dLive. Or live on dLive.
Close enough
how
for
you
them.
want. Yeah, it's whatever. So just trying that. Maybe people saw that I did do this on Monday. We went to dLive and also TFR and also my other YouTube channel, Jeranism Raw, and we're able to have a fun show. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, that was this past Monday. It was myself. It was Crow 777. It was Jason Lindgren from Secrets of Saturn, and Owen Benjamin. So we had a fun little 2-hour chat. And the only thing that I'm upset about is, as far as I know with dLive, at least what I've seen on other channels, you're able to keep up to 3 recent live streams, but for some reason mine never showed up in the replays. So if anybody has any answers for that, send me that on Skype. Maybe, I don't know if Karen B knows. I know she's been looking into this a little bit and has some ideas about how it works. I saw her, was it in your chat today that she was telling how to, I think it was in the Rodrigo's Skype chat that she was telling us how to become a partner at dLive. So all those things are new to me. But if anybody wants to try and use Restream.io, it seems to work pretty well. And we are live on dLive, so it seems like things are going well. So I guess we could talk about what's been going on this week. Anything new with you, Iru? Did you have any exciting interviews?
Excuse me, somewhat. I didn't hear the last part.
Any interviews this week or anything that you were busy
doing?
I
was interview. I was a pleasure, at least for me, because for me it's a really important topic. It's in terms of the health. I have the opportunity to interview this German guy, of course in Spanish, who is Andreas Kalker. He is the guy behind. It's not a medicament. It's the name in English.
Medicine, you mean?
Medicine is behind the medicine called CDS. That is the official name, but a lot of people know with the name of MMS, which in okay, but it's not the same thing. But it's the in English, in Spanish is clorito de sodio, but I don't know which is in English the name. But you know the substance that I'm talking
sodium
about.
chloride or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'm going to translate to English. But it's called Andreas Kalker. He lives in Switzerland. He came to Argentina to give some conference and explain how it works. He's a biophysicist. And he explained how it works, how you can produce yourself. I'm started using that since like 2014. I'm starting with my dog, of course, because my dog has like a tumor in the in the head, in the front of the head. I don't know which is the English name for describe that part of the dog, but start working really well, and then I'm start using myself in some cases when I start feel low, that low battery thing. I never have something really complicated myself, but I recommend it to everyone to investigate, because it's not a poison like the mainstreams wants to tell us. It's something that is just
it's what they call bleach or something when they want to attack it. Is that what it is? When they say that people are saying it.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that, yeah. Because Morgana was a big proponent of MMS, And he swore by it. He said it cured everything. So, but yeah, essentially it is kind of like bleach. And so, because I remember making the crack, it's like, oh, okay. So then when somebody tells us to go drink bleach, they're actually concerned for our health, right?
Well, good. I get told that quite often in the comments. Just go ahead and scroll down and check that out.
Yeah, I don't know what are you talking about, guys, because I don't understand exactly that word. But
Bleach
you know,
is
Bleach is it's like, how do you explain it? It's the stuff that you candida, you know, that you use to get things
Chlorine
white.
bleach. Yeah, it's it bleach.
Okay.
It makes laundry really white, Iru.
yeah, well, but that is the difference between hypochlorite and chloride. It's not the
Right.
same thing, okay?
Not the same
It's
thing,
it's
yeah.
like saying, for example, here we have water and then the oxygen water. I don't know which is the name in English.
Yeah,
You know, you have
H2O2.
H2O is water and H2O2 is oxygen water. It's
Yeah.
not the same thing. You cannot drink it, oxygen
Yeah.
water. You cannot
Yeah, people-
drink
People use that
hypochlorite.
in
okay?
Brazil. People use that to turn their hair blonde or something.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot drink it, but it's compounded with the same elements as water. So the same thing happens when you have chlorine dioxide and when you have hypochlorite, which is not the same substance. It's not the same thing. It's same components, but in different way. You know. So Sharon asked me about my interview this week. Well, I interviewed the guy behind, which is the CDS and not MMS. It's like the same thing, but it's more developed with more, research behind, with more. In fact, this guy take three patents in Switzerland because they have all the tests to demonstrate that it's not a poison and it's not a regular, the thing that you use to clean the to clean the
toilet.
the clothes,
Yeah,
you know.
clothes.
to
So
get
how'd
the-
you come across this? And
I came across with the guy or with the topic.
the whole thing, like this guy, because he invented this substance. You saying he developed
Yeah,
it
he has
further?
an official web page called andreaskalker.com, and you have all the manual how to use it. Because the guy is a biophysicist. So when he when he started to research this liquid, this medicine, he was at 40 years old, and he takes let me just translate it very quickly. Reuma, it's rheumatism, and he cannot use his hands because the hands start to get all stuck. He cannot even move the fingers.
Yeah.
So he go to the regular medicines, hospital and therapies, and of course the guys say to him, okay, you get used to it, and trying to get used to it. It's the only
There's
thing
no
that I
cure.
can tell you
Right.
because you don't have any cure.
Right.
So he start, gets desperate because that kind of diagnosis is not good.
Oh, no.
It's not good. Right now he is 61 years old. So this was happened 20 years ago. So he start to research about alternative medicines, and he become across with this substance. And of course, as a biophysicist, he start thinking this is impossible that one substance work in so many cases, or at least I need to find the common denominator. Why it's why it's working so good in so many different diseases. So he go to the lab and start making experiments, and that critical factor, that one component, it's oxygen. This substance, when enter in contact in your stomach with the acid, with the chloride acid in your stomach, it release oxygen at molecular level, directly to the cells. So it's not a medicine. It's just like a chemical reaction that give you oxygen in the blood. So if your body get more oxygen, your body get more strong to live with disease. It doesn't matter
to deal with the disease. Your immune system gets stronger, and your body deals with the disease itself.
Exactly.
It doesn't cure it. It just gives you a.
No, it's not cure anything. It's not a medicine. It's not a medicine.
It's like a boost. It's a boost.
It's a boost. For example, when you go to this old New Age, and I'm not saying New Age in the bad sense, this New Age that came from to Occident with it based on breathe. You know, you go to yoga and all this kind of stuff, and the first thing that they tell you is, we're gonna learn how to breathe.
Yeah, pranayama, it's called.
Exactly, because you need oxygen in your body to make combustion inside of. You need, it's our body is like a car motor. You know, you need the fuel, but you also need the oxidant. And
the Hatha Yoga masters that I've read some books from, they said that the reason why in the West people had tuberculosis, for instance, which is a lung disease, and many other issues with their lungs, is because they didn't know how to breathe properly. They actually didn't breathe all the way through the lung all the way to the bottom, and they breathe on top of the. There's a bunch of things, but it's exactly what you're saying. It's a physiological issue and a matter of custom. And these guys are always breathing. It's very, very important.
I paste in the comment section of the Skype the webpage from this guy, because he is. You can find it in English, in German, Spanish. He speaks like 4 or 5 languages, and you can go and change the language of the. You have Portuguese, the Dutch, Spanish, and English in his own web pages, and he give all for free in terms of the basic, because you can produce yourself. It's like, you need to. The best thing is for produce this substance, you need to have distilled water. So you have neutral pH, because after all, this substance, what it's making inside of you, it's equilibrate the pH of your blood. Turns the acid into alkaline. It's simple as that. I am not going to go deeper because my English maybe doesn't allow me to explain very well, but I have the opportunity. For me, it was something really nice, because I have been using this CDS like from 5-6 years ago, and now I have the opportunity to be face to face and evacuate all my doubts about the uses and things like that. So I make 2 interviews, one on the radio and one on television.
So to try to just get what we're saying here, if I understand it, is that kind of like alcohol. When you have a distilled alcohol concoction that you may use, it may be good in small doses. This thing, you're not going to drink a whole cup of it. You have to put a little bit. Is that how it works, or am I wrong?
Yes. First of all, because I'm seeing that Jeran is surfing the web, and he suffered a few blocks. Amazon the last week take out his book, which is called Prohibido. How is it in English? Prohibido. Forbidden Health. Yeah, Forbidden Health is his book, and Amazon take out. But it's still online, and you can buy it in other places or download it, the basic PDF with all the protocols that you need to know how to drink this substance. Because, for example, for the OMS, for example, water is a poison. If you want to breathe water, you cannot breathe water.
Correct.
Water in the lungs is a poison, but for drinking is good. For example, this kind of substance for drinking is good, but not for smell, for breathe. You cannot breathe chlorine dioxide. So this guy is a biophysicist, so he gives all the warnings necessarily to understand how it works, what produces inside of you, how to use it in terms of the protocols. Because if you have just a simple cold, it's not the same as if you have a tumor. And if you have a tumor, it's not depends the state of the tumor, how big it is, how much time was inside of you, what is the organ or the gland that have that tumor. It's different doses that you need to drink. But this guy, I was also so happy to interview because this guy he also used the new German medicine. So this kind of new guys behind the standard medicine, they are all aware that the pharmacy, the new world orders, all the things, he's completely aware. It's not just a biophysicist that discover or create some kind of new substance to drink. No. It's like us. In fact, we talk about flat Earth, and not just that. The guy was a guy who followed the Thunderbolt project and all the electric universe, because this substance would produce, I don't know if you know that, this guy, but in the cells, in the
Mitochondria?
The mitochondria, I don't know which is the name in English. What we call viruses is just a voltage difference inside the cells. Nobody ever isolate a virus and show us a virus.
Right.
It's not existence. It's not exist a virus in itself. A virus is a disease inside the cell because just the cells start to have less power, less volts inside the cells. So this guy, it's really aware about all the, the things about we are electricity, the universe is electric,
Right.
all our plane of existence is electric. So this substance change the voltage inside the cell. So if your cell it's in the lower voltage, when this liquid produce this boost inside of your blood flow, the cells that has less voltage is going to die because it's not going to resist that boost of energy. But the cells that are good is going to get better. So it's a selective process of not kill, because it's not based on kills bad cells. There is not bad cells inside the body. Your body reacts to make you survive, and that is very explained in terms of the new German medicine. So this kind of therapy, what it does is get the equilibrium in terms of the bacteria, viruses, and hongos is like mushrooms. No, what do you call hongos?
Mushroom
Fungus.
kind of
Fungus. Yeah. So
Yes.
it's a start to equilibrate that inside of your body. And
Right.
I am, don't take my words, because I very, very poor words in terms of how this really works and all the advantages that it has. But it's really to research. And in fact, the guy speaks very well English. So if you want, someday we can have it as
A guest. That'd be
guest,
great.
as a guest, and just talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think this is awesome, and I'm looking at some stuff here talking about autism, and so yeah, people should check out his site, which is just Andreas and the last name Kalker.com.
Kalker, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And lots of different links up here and things for people to check, and there's a FAQ I saw under one of these down here. Yeah, CDS and MMS. And
Yeah.
I don't fully know about that either. I know a lot of people who use MMS swear by it, so I'll definitely be checking it out.
One of the best ways to avoid autism for your children is to simply not have them vaccinated, because there is such a solid link between, infant vaccinations and later autism. I mean, it is an absolute sure thing.
Right.
It's an absolute given. So, that's the best way.
Well, of course, I answer about that because he is a specialist in this thing. And the real, the Matrix movie, when, for example, takes the main character, Neo.
Neil.
This guy from this agent. At the first time, they took and they insert like this
thing.
robot inside of his body, and then before he take out for the Matrix, the guy in the car put this thing and take out this worm, this digital worm. You remember that part?
Yeah.
Yep. I like that digital worm.
Creepy.
Yeah, well, in the real life, the same thing happens. And I mean like this. When you receive mercury for example, from a vaccine, you are receiving like a metal. But that metal is going to become like a parasite inside your body. It's not going just stay as a metal. Because the body is going to say, okay, I have this invited inside me, so I need to generate things to eat that metal. So I'm going to start to create his own agents inside your body. It's going to create, fungus or bacteria or parasite to eat that.
Or fiber optic tubes, and I say that in reference to Morgellons, right? And Morgellons kind of came on the scene. It popped up on the scene shortly after all the chemtrails started happening about between 20 and 25 years ago, and still it amazes me that people will deny that they exist or that there's something else when there is so much definitive evidence linking, showing that A, they're not condensation trails for one, B, they do contain very toxic ingredients, the aluminum, barium, and strontium, etc. All the things that were going on at the time, especially for holographic projection, and I think that's extremely pertinent, these days, especially after what we're finding out with NASA and their balloons and their holographic expressions. But it's just interesting that, it appears like these people that are suffering from Morgellons, they were finding these same type of elements that were in the chemtrails, along, of course, with that type O universal blood type, right? Now, what the hell is that doing in there, right?
It's so weird. It's really creepy stuff. I mean, it's fibers growing out of your body, and they seem kind of artificial. Is that right? Is that what it is?
And they literally, so the body reacts by generating these. They look like little fiber optic tubes of different colors. It's really completely bizarre.
Yeah,
So
but we have that immune system, it's automatically. So, for example, this guy start to research on all these autism problem in the kids, and he start to really take a deep look into the excrements, into the poo-poo,
Feces.
Feces, exactly. And he started to discover the link between how many parasites this poo-poo had in comparison with the regular child. So, for example, when you drink alcohol,
but the normal child, you mean in comparison?
Yeah, normal child, exactly. So, for example, when you drink an alcohol, you're gonna start feeling disease in the head. You drink it into the stomach, but the alcohol affect your head, and you're gonna start to feeling this kind of, where am I going? Drunk. Exactly. This nauseous, the thing in your head. Well, the parasite create the same thing in the head. So what I'm trying to say, in really bad words, is that when you have a child with autism, the first thing that the doctor tell you is that you need to change the diet.
Right.
A lot of kids get better changing the diet, and you start thinking, what is the link between supposedly like a mental disease with the diet?
Right.
Well, because when you change the diet and you stop feeding the parasite with sugar and carbohydrates, I am inventing words. I know that.
Processed foods.
Processed food, things like that. This parasite is not allowed it to replicate, much more than when you produce this acid terrain inside your body. So it's very interesting. I mean, it's a really nice guy. He's a really professional guy. He received a lot of controversy. He was in jail twice because he was presenting this in Spain and other countries. Right now, in YouTube, if you type his name, you're going to find like hundreds of conferences in Spanish and English and German. So it's a really good topic with talk with the protagonist himself and letting him to explain to the public, to the followers, and then, as always, you need to decide for yourself.
Always, yep.
Always, exactly.
No, but this looks very interesting. It seems like to me you give the immunization or the vaccine, and like you said, then you teach children constant, placing of sugar in the commercials and everything else, and everything that they eat has sugar, and it's all processed, and then you're just feeding these bad bacteria, causing it, the child not to recover. This is interesting.
And you have even the ritual, right? Halloween is all about sugar as well.
Yeah, well, every holiday.
Yeah, well, he talks about that. He talks about that,
Yeah, no matter what holiday it is, it's always demanded that you buy a bunch of candy and give it to children. Whatever. If it's Valentine's Day, make sure you get these candy hearts that are they might as well just be sugar cubes, with like words on them or something. And then basically all the Easter is all big on chocolate, eggs, everything, right? Halloween, of course, we know. Christmas, of course, we know. You got to fill the stockings with every possible candy item. Isn't this image here? I don't know if you guys can see. This image is interesting here. Doesn't it look like a little bit like what they try to sell as Galaxy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah, we saw that there was some point, I think years ago, people were looking at how some of the stuff that they claim was coming from space was probably microscopic.
Yeah, that's always been my thought. It's just too easy because really, a telescope is just the opposite of a microscope. I mean, and yet, people think, okay, well, we're looking inside this leaf, and so when you're looking out in space, they think you're looking further. When we look at a leaf, we know we're not looking further into the leaf. We're just exposing more things that our eyes can't see. So how do we know a telescope's not doing the same thing? Just exposing things in the sky. We don't know. They tell us, of course, oh, those are light years. Oh, those are hundreds of light years. Oh, what you're seeing there is trillions of miles away. But when you look in a leaf, nobody's trying to tell us that we're seeing trillions of miles away.
I know. It's so absurd. And what kills me is like anybody that has ever owned a telescope, this is the thing that really gets me, is there's so many amateur astronomers out there. It's almost as if they have never taken their telescope outside and pointed it at a non-celestial object. In other words, try and focus on a house a couple blocks away. See how close that really brings you as far as magnification. And what you find out is that, the telescope, even with my Meade, the very highest mag eyepiece that I have, it's no better than a great pair of binoculars or a P1000. So why people all of a sudden believe that, oh, yeah, I got this big old 12, 14-inch or even the Lucifer telescope, and it's going to allow me to see thousands and billions of light years. It's ridiculous. They just do not magnify that much. It's crazy that people think that.
So you tested this around and you found out that it's no better than the one you have. Is it supposed to be magnified much more than a P1000?
No, it's not really. And the focal length is only like 2,500 millimeters. Like I said, the reason, Rodrigo, you've never been to my house, but, I know Jaron saw my telescope, my Meade.
Right.
And, it's got this great big, huge barrel on it, and you pull the front off and it's really impressive looking. But really, all that's for is light gathering,
Exactly.
All the magnification takes place in the little itty bitty eyepiece.
And I've said before, somebody bought me a... I don't remember, Dobsonian, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Dobsonian,
right.
And mine's a Schmidt Cassegrain.
Right, so somebody bought me a telescope, and it was one day when I just took off the eyepiece and looked through just the eyepiece at the neighboring cars and houses, and they're all spherical all of a sudden. They're all bent away from me.
Everything's super bent.
Right, so I'm like, well, what the hell is this?
Right.
And then, of course, their excuse for that is because, the way the light comes into the eyepiece, it needs to be recorrected on its way to your eye, and so that's the last thing it does is basically make things spherical. So when I hear people talking all the time about, well, why do we see all these spheres in the sky? Well, you certainly don't see that with your eyes.
No, and not only that,
my
that
first screen share.
Okay, hang on just a second. I'll let you do that. I'll let you do that in just a minute here.
It's not your show. It's not your show. Remember that, Bob.
But I own you because I donate.
Oh,
Patreon.
Yes, I forget that.
Patronage.
Damn it!
Okay.
See, you forgot. No, but
Come on, know your place, Hero. Know your place.
But what I was going to say is, again, and I've said this a million times, it's like, look, in order to perceive something in 3 dimensions, first of all, you have to have binocular or stereoscopic vision. And most telescopes, let's face it, have a single eyepiece. So when you look through there and you see a little circle, all of your programming, cumulative programming, is telling you, oh, no, that's a planet, it's a ball, it's a sphere, and therefore that's what you think you see, but it isn't. So
That is quite interesting because, I mean, I guess they would be arguing that with a radio telescope from different areas, because a radio telescope, it could be just wires on the ground, literally. They tell you this. So it can cover vast areas, and you would be able to see some sort of, comparing from different distances, you should be able to see some sort of parallax. But what you made me think of is what happens, because you have, seen those sets of GoPros. You can put two GoPros one next to the other, and you can get the 3D effect, right? It's kind of like there's film cameras for 3D film that it's two cameras at the same time. They just film like an eye, like two eyes.
Correct.
And that brings you the stereoscopic stuff that Bob was talking about. So what would happen? I don't know. What would happen if you try to do this with a long exposure of the sky or just different pictures of the sky? Would that give us a different layering of the stars? Because I haven't seen 3D photographs that are reliable from the stars, but it should be possible.
it's possible that it might, but I don't know if you've ever seen I think Karen B did a video with Dr. Zach where they were showing, these kind of spheres, circles, whatever. And it was a really, really powerful demonstration because one of them was an actual sphere, and then another one was just a 2D printout that had the shading correctly. Yeah, stuff like that. So, I mean, and the moon, of course, I don't believe for 1 second that the moon is actually a three-dimensional, spherical object, and mostly because you have no hotspot, you have no diminishing of light as you get back towards the equatorial region. I mean, I have a lot of reasons for not thinking that the moon is actually a sphere, even though, I fully acknowledge people say stuff like, well, you can see the shadows inside of little craters. And yes, you can. And I'm not exactly sure how to explain that, but I think the bigger overriding factor is that there is no diminishment of light towards the equatorial regions, and there is no hot spot in the center. And, that for me kind of kills the idea of the moon being a sphere.
For me, what gets me a lot is how it doesn't really, if you look at it the whole day as it comes across the sky, if it's out during the day or at night, you don't see, the small changes you should expect if all these things are rotating and related, if the light's shining onto it. You should see the gradual movement as the phase starts changing, kind of like what you see in the eclipses, that you see that happening. But when it comes to the phases themselves, they just come. They don't, and you don't see them changing according to the position of the sun. Right. And now NASA, I guess, has a claim that I think you saw that the moon has its own light somehow, where they claim some sort of. Did you see that?
Who said that?
Did you see that, Ido? That where was it shared?
What, can you repeat it?
That people are admitting, or some scientists are saying, I guess, that the moon has its own light.
Yeah.
I have that. I have that right here. Just a sec. I'll pull it up for you. Yep, here it is right here. I will drop it in the chat, and Jaren can bring it up.
Okay. And then I'm also showing real quick the video that you sent me from
Karen
B.
Yep. Thank you for that, Karen, by the way.
The title of that one is It Spherical, from March 2019. But I'll keep this link and drop it into the show notes after. So we got that. Basically showing you which ones of these are spheres. They all look round. Oh, excellent video. There's only one object that isn't spherical, it said?
Mm-hmm. And she kind of fudges with that a little bit too, but the point is very well taken.
Okay. And then what is the other thing I'm bringing up here?
This is the photon luminescence of the moon, where NASA is, kind of saying that there is this glowing luminescence of the moon.
Oops, I went to the wrong link. What's going on here? Close that. And here, and that. Alrighty. This is okay, I'll save this link as well. Oops, nobody's seeing what I'm doing. And what exactly is this,
Nobody
Bob?
never seen. Nobody understand what are you doing.
No,
just seeing.
No, I don't. I hope that I
even
don't
us
expect them to
understand what are you doing, man.
So it's basically saying that the moon has luminescence.
Hmm. And of course, obviously, it's written in such a way that that can be interpreted in very different ways. Because that's what, they do that. They're so general that they allow, they can make a specific point, but there's this way of interpreting it. Oh, no, that isn't what they meant at all.
Right.
It's a plausible deniability BS.
Yeah, they can send that, okay, because this regolite is the material that accumulates light reflection. So
Yeah,
that is what I
fluorescent
want to
stars that
mean,
you put in your bedroom at night when you're a kid. Those kind of the stickers you put in the ceiling, and then at night they glow.
They glow, right.
Kind of material.
Did you guys see this video? I'm sure everybody saw this. Colder in the Moonlight by Theory Hypothesis.
Yeah.
Yep. I had that brought up. And you know what else? Who else did that? And it's funny because I've had it queued for the last 2 weeks on Glowbusters and just never got a chance to get to it. But Sly Sparkane, of all people, him and Sean Stuffblurred
Nice
came out
that name, Bob.
with
That's great.
with a video using a FLIR camera, just like Theoria did, and saying, "Yep, there it is." And it's funny because they're sitting there trying to make up all these excuses for, why it's turning out that way. But I couldn't believe it that they actually admitted that there it is. The moon is producing a cold light. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah,
very interesting.
No, it's good that Theory is seeing this, and that hopefully some better experiments come out of it. Because I think it's very easy to determine if you had a good setup for a test, and I can think of a few off the top of my head. But if you had a perfect setup, you could really show it quite well. Especially if you could ever use like a Fresnel lens or something to really magnify that moonlight.
That's and somebody did that too. They actually did that inside of a telescope, and it was dramatic. I mean, I could not believe the difference. Now, the only thing that bothers me about that, and I don't disagree that these laser thermometers are picking up a temperature differential. I don't disagree that the FLIR is picking up a temperature differential. Mm-hmm. But I don't know about you guys, but have you ever been able to actually feel a temperature difference? And I haven't, and even though, when it varies up, 5-10 degrees, you would think that you would be able to feel that, on your skin. And yet I've never been able to feel it. And maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. But I just, I'm wondering sometimes if maybe the moonlight is affecting the infrared sensors on the cameras or, the microphones or what, but I've never been able to actually feel a difference. And
I think that first at night you're gonna be, there'll be breeze and other things hitting your skin. It'll be hard to determine just by standing there. Right. The way I would test this is that what you see on the screen here is like, of course, the shadow or the back of different things, and by touching it, you should be able to feel that difference if it is there. So. I mean, obviously, here's the engine of the car, so I mean that would be hotter. But when things shouldn't be hotter, so like in on the floor, for instance, like if you have metal, right? There's the metal and the shadow from the metal and the same kind of substance. You should, in theory, if these differences are there, that you see that they're quite large, as Bob said, then in theory, you should be able to touch it and feel it that way. I think more easily than just standing outside in the moonlight or standing in the shadow would be why it would be difficult for you. I don't know if you touch things if you try doing it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially on the ones where, and I think we showed this in a Glowbusters once, where a guy actually was doing the moonlight. And he was using it wasn't a Fresnel lens, but he was actually inside of a telescope inside the chamber. And there was a massive difference in temperature. I mean, it was like 40 or 50 degrees. And there is no way that you would not be able to feel that. You know what I mean?
Right. So the telescope magnifies the coldness of that light.
Well, according to the thermometers, yes. But, that's why I wonder sometimes if the moonlight itself is not having some sort of effect on the mechanism that is, reading that thermal energy.
One way to test that would be simply to have a set of magnifying lenses, take them outside under the moonlight and see what kind of thing comes out of it. If you need strong moonlight, full moon, and then see if the magnifying lens somehow, because you can easily, I used to do that when I was a kid, and you can burn things up with magnifying lens with the sun.
Totally.
Right.
Easily.
You're not going to do that with the moon.
Huh?
I said you're not going to do that with the moon. No,
Yeah, but imagine, well, if there is a magnification from that light, like Bob was suggesting, that
Maybe
the
you could
telescope,
freeze things.
you can freeze things.
No, I don't know. Maybe
with a parabolic. Well, because there are those technologies which are
Right.
essentially a parabolic mirror, and that it is the scariest thing. You just put it out in the sun, and it can melt through steel, thick steel, like butter, like chocolate, like it's like. I'm not sure you've seen this, but it's basically these guys have a massive parabolic mirror thing, and you just bring it outside, you focus on anything, the heat is extreme when it can focus just with mirrors, which is it's like an ancient invention, I think.
You can vaporize things for sure.
Yeah.
So,
the great thing is about all these comments, so many comments from people, clear evidence that NASA is lying. If you think the evidence ends with the moon casting its own light, you've got a lot to learn. Yep, moonlight is cold, Earth is flat. Obviously, tongue-in-cheek, Ken says reflected sunlight. He knows. He kind of snickers when he does say that, which a few people have brought to my attention. It is pretty true. But, it is not reflected sunlight. Moon gives off its own light. Is Ken admitting the geocentric stationary topographic plane yet, so I can resub? The sun and moon are in our atmosphere. The Earth is flat. God, the creator, is real. Show me the real proof of curvature. Explain how the atmosphere is contained from a vacuum of space.
What is this slice hurricane thing? Is that?
No, this is from Theoria Hypothesis. So it's pretty cool that a lot of people are commenting on that. Earth is flat and non-duality is the truth. When you were ready, research flat Earth. I've been wanting to ask you about this for ages, but I thought you would think I was crazy. Us bald people already know the answer to this. We feel how cold moonlight is on our head. There you go, Bob.
There you go, Bob.
There you go. There's my evidence, I guess.
Please do a video on your ideas on why moonlight is cold and can't be reflected sunlight. Thanks, bald brother. All right, so I guess if you're bold, you know the answer to Bob's question, but just one of many more flat Earth proofs. Yeah, so there's a lot of comments in here, and he says here, I said nothing and no conclusions, just posted some empirical evidence thermal video. But
yeah, there's the other assertion is that the moonlight does something different than what the sun does to things. So you can dry things under the sun, but apparently the moonlight decomposes things. This is one of the
it's very
putrefies.
different. And that was stuff that Robotham was pulling out 150 years ago in his books, definitely talking about the difference between the light, because one is completely different than the other, and you would expect them to be the same. How could one do one thing and the other do the completely opposite? Unless they're really opposite.
And I will say this, there is no current explanations in the laws of physics that I'm aware of that can explain that.
Right.
And so, if this is actually true and not some sort of a, infrared interference type of thing, then this opens up a whole new field of physics, because under the standard model, this is inexplicable.
Right. Yeah, and I've always had my questions about it, just because I think it's very hard to isolate what you're actually observing here. As I've talked before, I mean, I was doing it when I did it. I had a fence post, and I was measuring the top of the fence post versus the side. But I kind of quickly realized that the top of the fence post is very open to all the elements, and the side of the fence post is blocked. It's partially blocked. Mm-hmm. So.
You're warmer there, more protected.
Correct, right? So when you test that and you just shine your thermal testing device at the top and then the side, I could see why the top is colder. So people could say, "Oh, that's because of the moonlight," but then you could also say it's because of the elements.
I think there is a solution to this. If you have a thermal camera like this, all you have to do it is know when the moon is going to come, when we have a nice day, of course, and leave it as like a time lapse of this thing for hours in your porch as the moon moves, and you have to keep track of the moon and keep this thing static and showing you all the temperature changes. And if you observe that enough times, I think you can establish then that the moon is coming and causing changes as it moves, because it will rise and it will set. And it will, and if you can find out the date that it's going to be at the zenith, because it's going to come right over. I'm not sure it happens that would happen. Probably happens just like the sun does in some places. So those kind of long-term observations, the time lapses in the same place, that will give you the control that you need to really make sure. Because here you have some indications that might be true. Then it's confusing because the video, like you're saying, you don't know exactly what you're looking at here, which part is the shadow, but you see the differences are there. But I mean,
Yeah.
So. Yeah, like long-term observation is a answer for many things, especially the refraction is another one that the Globers didn't see coming. That they were claiming that the light's going to bend around to turn into a flat image. Those claims, and then we look into it, and people are observing the refraction happening all day in many settings for long periods, and they found the exact opposite. It's true. So. And then go ahead, Ito. Sorry.
No. I'm gonna say because I want to share a few things about telescope and lensing. So
you want to share
before
your screen?
changing the topic, I want to share my screen.
Yep, go ahead.
Let's do it. And also, Ito, you had you're talking about that really interesting telescope that is inverted, that gives you completely different, like, really strange kind of creature-looking things in the sky. And there's a lot.
Santilli's telescope.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I am sharing or not.
Yes.
I don't think he's live yet, Darren, if you haven't transitioned it. I'm not seeing it on the live feed.
Oh, it'll be a little delayed. But I already got it.
Okay, but I'm
there it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You're good.
All right. So, this is just a few things that I take into consideration based that there is no Hubble. There is no Spitzer, and there is never going to be some telescope outside our atmosphere, at least for, I'm spec because I don't believe in space. But, when you look into the telescope, you have this feeling that things maybe are, spherical or concave or convex, depending exactly what you are observing. But for example, we have to take into consideration based on the setup of a telescope and also of a lens, but in particular a telescope. Because, for example, if I show you this, and this is a flat surface, okay? This is just like a pill,
Mm-hmm.
It's a flat surface without even surrounded the edges, no bevel at the edge, nothing like that. But if I process this as a regular, object based on computer without any atmospheric distortion, but more important, with the real conditions inside the camera, you're gonna just simply, see as some kind of flat circular object. But when I'm trying to emulate the conditions inside the camera or a telescope, and that condition I'm talking is the vignetting, immediately you're going to have this feeling that object is spherical, or at least a hemisphere, because you are not, you don't have the opportunity to see behind the object to, say, okay, this is a sphere, because I go into the backside and check by myself that the moon is a sphere. So the condition that the telescope is set up, you always is going to have a vignetting, because the light is focused in the center point, but from the certain point to the outside, you're going to lose energy. So right. Because you're going to lose energy, you're going to have this kind of fade condition of the light, and it's going to produce this kind of feeling. So
how did you emulate the telescope lens? How did you get to do that, or did you do the settings?
This is a standard setting inside and every 3D software in our days. We have two conditions that simulate the standard rendering engines. Is okay, engine. My phone. I need to put in my head. Engine. You have the chromatic aberration, and that is why, for example, right now you are seeing just in regular color, which is this white texture. And if I start increasing the chromatic aberration amount, of course, you're going to have the light dispersion. So you're going to start feeling this kind of wacky
Fuzziness.
colors spread, but it's based on, remember, this is a 3D software. It's trying to simulate reality, but it's not reality, because behind this is just numbers and algorithms and things like that, and math. And math is not reality, but it's trying to simulate that. So you have the chromatic aberration, and you also have the vignetting intensity. So when you start to increasing this, you're going to have more and more less light, reaching the corners or the boundaries of the image, producing that condition of a spherical fake object. So when you transfer this to, real life events, as always trying to judge via nature, you have to keep in mind a few things. And first of all, a telescope, in the majority of the cases, it's bad than a lens camera.
Worse.
Because it's worse. Yeah, it's worse because it's just a simple method without any kind of compensation behind and things like that. But for example, you need to take out of your head that the telescope is like a super zoom lens that you are going to get into the infinity and see beyond Portugal from the New York coast.
Exactly.
Try aiming Spain. And let me go to real condition. Let me recap one thing. Some telescopes, I am not sure if all the telescope is based in the same method, but you need to calibrate the lens, the mirror. So, for example, there is a method called focal Ronchi method to calibrate that, and it's a particular method because here you can see in real life how you can be, deceived about what you see. For example, right now, this image that you are looking into it is based on a telescope. Okay, you are looking through a telescope, filming to the eyepiece from the telescope to a wall with an object to test the calibration. So if you ask you what shape is that image based on the shadows, what are you going to respond?
Are we talking about the little thing at the middle?
Yeah, all these objects with all this pattern is gonna, what feeling produce in your mind that this is what shape is this?
Sphere or circle?
Like a donut, a sphere, or like a donut.
Okay, donut.
When
yeah.
like you're gonna have a toroid, exactly. But in fact, these objects, when it's changing how much light it's enter into the telescope, you're gonna start looking and seeing like the image is going to. Let me just skip layer 4. It's a flat thing with just a pattern.
Right.
It doesn't have any volumetric thing. It's just a flat surface.
No relief or anything. It's not.
No relief.
It's like
nothing.
carved. Right.
Exactly. So when you start calibrating and how much light is enter, you're gonna have less resolution, but more real sense of the image. But still, you are not stereoscopic. You are, at least you can check the object that you are looking for because you have on the wall on your house. It's not in the sky in an accessible, place. But what I trying to simulate in the computer, you have here in the real life. You have here is like, okay, this object is going to be some kind of donut or spherical. No, it's concave because look the shadow here, but not. That is how the light is transferred to the eyepiece, to the mirror in the center of the telescope tube, and then to your eye. So that's
just how
unique.
How much light there is. Is that what it is? How much light? If
how
it's
much
a little
light
bit less,
it is, how it entered the light,
the angle,
how
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. How you manage the light inside the telescope. Of course, you are testing this to calibrate, but you calibrate based on what? You calibrate
That's
based
part of
on
the
a
magic.
real object that you can check.
Calibration is one of the keys to the whole thing with their machines and their math. It's how they make who calibrates the calibrator of the calibrator.
Right.
There's all these discussions in geology as well. Like you need a machine that is calibrated to do something, to measure something, and that machine has to be calibrated by another person that has the measurement, and they need to be also certified.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
all
So
really,
now it's
really on it.
concave. For example, now it's not more like a spherical or donut shape. Now it seems like this object is concave, or at least for my brain.
Right,
Maybe
yeah, it
for
looks like
your
that.
eyes it's a different shape. I don't know, but you know the point what I'm aiming for, right? I mean, in terms of the lens in the telescopes,
Yeah.
the
It
object,
even looks like a wheel of a car or something like that.
Right.
Even
It looks
like that.
it's-
There.
the middle is down lower. It's like
Yeah.
a crater or something.
Yeah.
exactly. And on top of this, you need to lead with the out of focus thing. It's not just the light, but you also have depth of field to take into consideration. You also have the blurriness of the image that be produces, okay, things like that, and you use all these things to trying to calibrate. Okay, that is the first thing. The second thing is, for example, when you go to
If you like later, if you show also what we get when we actually, well, I know it would be out of focus and whatnot, but what the stars actually are when we look at them and when we try to focus on them with cameras, which we know now are better than telescopes, that we get many different colorful patterns, things that really don't look like rocks or you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, they just look like
Just-
flashing energy patterns or something to that effect.
and they're all different. That's one of the things that gets me, that is so different. And when you take astronomy, they tell you that all stars can be fit into, I don't know, 10 categories or less. That they organize, they got the whole universe into this package of 5 or 6 things that they're looking at. It's really amazing. Yeah, Edu, sorry, interruption.
no, man, go ahead. No problem. For example, this is a real telescope trying to look at some birds and some structure out there, but you can see the feeling of the vignetting that you
okay.
start having it. Okay, and of course now because we have something to distinguish, we have real object there that everybody knows.
But it looks like the
if you
circular
are-
part is a sphere. It looks like you can see edges. You can
Exactly,
You can almost play with it as if it's a ball.
Exactly.
Which we
if
know
we
it's
are
not.
looking just at black background or a dark gray background or super white background, you're gonna have the feeling that you are looking at a white sphere.
A ball. It's so funny because
like this fade here.
I never realized that was the case with telescopes. I would not have imagined that was how they work. I thought it would be, I really had the idea that they were way better than cameras and that this wouldn't be happening. And this is really, it shows actually that the technology is sketchy,
Oh
to
yeah.
say the least.
Well, absolutely.
So, the elusive curve says, the salt flat used to calibrate altimeters, you can get anything flatter than water. All the best. Thank you for the
Oh yeah. Thank you.
super chat. Yeah. So, let me just skip forward to another telescope test. For example, this one, you're gonna have this telescope with the camera mount on the eyepiece, and the people get in their brains that because you are looking light in the sky, you are looking to the million years of thousand of
Trillions
quintillion
of
kilometers.
miles, right.
Yeah, it was
zero
exactly.
energy kilometers away. But it's not. For example, when you aim straight, to an object in your block, and with this this telescope, normal telescope, regular telescope, you're gonna have just this. You're not going to have the infinity view,
Right. It's not like
or
you
you are not going
zoom
to
into
see millions
zits.
of kilometers
You're not
away.
going to see zits on the guy's face or something.
Yeah, in fact, for example, I have another test here because you're also going to have difference set up in the eyepiece to magnify what it's already there.
The eyepiece actually magnifies it.
Yeah,
The eyepiece does it all, man.
That's where most of the magnification comes from. Yeah.
What a joke. It's a scam. It's a kind of scam.
Scam is
That's how I
how
look at
the
it,
things
yeah.
works. The scam is
I mean,
what they
the
put on
idea,
top of
yeah.
this.
No,
You know,
because
in terms
look,
of the education,
no,
that
because
is it.
the one thing Globers come out, right? They come out and complain they cannot see Portugal from New York, right? And then they delight at how
Portugal or
light,
Spain. They say
or
Spain.
Spain, yeah, Spain, and then they delight at how light's arriving from millions of light years away,
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah. So, for example, here you can see these coconuts, maybe 40, 50 meters away, just with the standard eyepiece. And when they start to go in and increase the barrel eyepiece, you're going to see how it's changed in terms of, for example, this is with the using a 20 millimeter eyepiece without barrel. And you're going to see more, more magnified. And that is, you want to have more chromatic aberration, more distortions.
Yeah,
on
why
the,
does that happen? What are these distortions that bring the image in and out? Is it the air, or what is
it's the lens. It's all the conditions in terms of the lens inside of the eyepiece, and you are magnifying. You're gonna have more spread in the light, and you're gonna have this chromatic aberration. It's something that supposedly we are in the days with this kind of quantum materials. You can create like a perfect lens without chromatic aberration, but that is in theory. We are trying to achieve that, but you are leading with a lot of mediums, and what I'm trying to point out here is this is how a lens behaves. So when you are looking into the stars from the ground, you're going to have a big lens out there, which is the atmosphere. So you are looking through how many lenses? Your lens, the telescope lens, your eye lens, right? Your biological lens, then the eyepiece, then the barrel, then the telescope, then a lot of layer of atmosphere with air, with humidity, temperature changes, water, and
fluids moving different directions at the same time. Yeah.
So, for example, something that I remember was this. This is another test. This is only with a really good telescope looking at 53 kilometers, and this is what you get. It's just this, You cannot film from the ground and the space shuttle reaching 120 kilometers. No. That's for real.
That's what they want you to believe, but you can't do
that. That is exactly. So, for example, I remember this guy, and when I'm playing the video, you're going to recognize him. But this old man from England that talks about a flat universe, flat and stationary Earth with the enclosed system. You remember this guy from the BBC documentary?
Oh yeah, the old one.
But this guy invented a telescope from his own, and let's take a look at what he said.
Well, Mr. Bradbury, this looks like a conventional telescope, but I gather it isn't.
No, it's far from being a conventional telescope because it isn't split up in the lenses. Most of the lenses in this telescope are at the eye end.
Down here,
the
you mean?
eyepiece end, yes. Yes, there's only one object lens at the other end.
What's the purpose of having so many lenses?
Well, you can't get the power without. You must have the power to bring the object very much closer. With a conventional telescope, you can't do that.
I would have thought that every time you passed a beam of light through an extra lens, you'd lose a bit of light.
Yes, that is so, that you do lose light. But looking at objects in the sky, you don't need to lose it.
Looking at your map of the Earth, it looks to me as if you've got the North Pole in the middle and all directions are south. Is this correct?
Yes, it is correct in that method.
So that's it from an interview. But what I'm saying is this is the ordinary, because that is why a lot of observatory use radio telescope, because they are not trying to get
it's not optical. It's
not real-time observations.
That's just the sketchiest thing. Does the radio telescope for me?
So sketchy.
Because what is it that they look at? It's not light. They claim in a paper that I saw, an astronomy paper, they claim it was acoustic signals, like actual sound. How does this travel millions of freaking
For me,
light
you are
years?
looking you are looking really near, really close. You are just looking to gases or this fluid that is in the Milky Way. That is why maybe they call Milky Way. But what I'm trying to say is, look the setup of the telescope from Mr. Bradley telescope. Yeah, it has a lot of concave and concave, concave and convex lenses inside until you reach the eyepiece. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, like 20 lenses inside. And in this one, you have 2, 3.
Wow.
4.
Yeah, it looks like if you point that accidentally at the sun, it burns a hole through your head.
Maybe. Could be. And of course, we are all aware that you have a lot of other setups in terms of telescope. It is not just what I'm showing in these 3 main, basic telescope, which is the reflector, the refractor, and the
which one is the one that
Newton?
They say Newton invented one of these. Is the
Newtonian
refractor?
Refractor. Refractor or is reflector?
I think a Newtonian is a refractor. I'd have to look it up.
Okay, but you have a lot of you have a lot of setup, but it's all based, like really. I am not saying poor quality because I am not an expert in lenses, but this kind of setup you need to make, but by your own, for example, and like this guy said is. You can see the ether, he said in the telescope.
He says that.
And you're right, Eero. It is a reflector, a Newtonian. It's just another name for a reflector. Telescope.
Exactly. So it's really interesting. And then like another topic.
So Eero, again, he says in that interview there that you have the original where he says this that he's seen the ether through his telescope.
Yes, and he said. Not in this in this tiny part that I put it in the full complete documentary, because he said that all light in the universe is green, and from that green center condition you have the behavior of the light. Of course, this is what this guy said, and he talks about that, and everything in the universe is green and blah blah blah. It's not red, it's not blue, it's not white, it's not yellow. Well, you need to take a look and trying to understand with this what this guy is saying and why he is saying, and I am not an expert in that, so but it's at least is really interesting.
Yeah, because you would imagine that at least people would come up with many different setups for those lenses combinations, right? Because what you see there is that he has a particular lens combination, and that there are different ways of doing this, and how many can you stack in a row? What kind of effects do you get? And in the mainstream we get, what people can get is very simple, and it doesn't work as well. You'd be way better off for a P1000 nowadays. So
yeah. Well, and then you have because I was trying to I remember that I have the full documentary here. I cannot remember exactly what it is, but for example, then you have these conditions, through telescope, optics telescope, okay, the condition of the star when we see this kind of behavior in the sky, and at the beginning of the flat Earth research, a lot of people came across with this kind of out of focus star, and saying that supposedly this is the actual star that we are looking into it. And a lot of controversy came out and say, but the thing is that there is just point of light, and you cannot get more resolution than a point of light. And that is all.
Right.
The rest is just an optics behave. For example, there is a really nice video about, let me just, I'm trying to, you have this point of light, all right. Through the atmosphere, through the Earth itself, through the lens of your telescope, through the lens of your eyepiece, and then reach the lens of the camera that is filming. You're going to get out of focus.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. You are not going to get the real object there.
But that's a star,
that's
some
not
sort
that.
of. Is this supposed to be a star or just some light in the ground somewhere?
No, this is a star. This is a telescope pointing into the sky. It's not the only video that I have. I have 100 of those videos. But for understanding that this is another one, you're going to have this. And depends on the temperature and the conditions in the sky at that night.
Right.
In particular, you're going to
how
have this fluctuation.
Even how high up the star is. You're going to get more of that the lower it is towards the horizon.
Make a difference.
Less of that if it's
exactly.
more towards above your head. But no telescope on Earth has ever seen any star as anything more than a simple point of light. It has never happened.
And it never happened. And in the black hole in the middle is from the telescope.
Right.
It's not
focus,
because the object itself have a black hole in the middle. It's just, you can see the cross here, which is the setup
of the Dobsonian telescope. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then why when you go to Hubble, for example, and that is important because we need to try to understand why they do the things as they do. And for example, when you go to Hubble, images.
Oh, great!
And man, prepare yourself for this delicious.
Look at the beauty.
Look at this, but why they draw these kind of stars? Yeah, the streaks there, because they take real conditions here testable on Earth, and they transfer to the drawings and CGIs and picture and whatever. But why? Because for example, here in this this video from 1 Minute Physics. You're going to have explained it very well. It's all based on light diffraction. It's just that.
They want you to think they have a starlight filter on the Hubble, which is ridiculous.
Exactly.
And then they had to service. They made it. They spent so much money. Then they made it. It wasn't working supposedly. Then they had a update in their storyline. It was fuzzy. Then it wasn't fuzzy. They revealed their art. Why
they draw like a curved line for a stand-up? I mean, they could be drawing just a flat plane because at these sizes, you're gonna have that curve, man. You are
Hey, let me throw something past you guys on this. Going back just a little bit to what we were addressing about. When you look at stars through a telescope and photograph them, whatever, you get nothing more than a point of light that just seems to be changing rainbow colors. But when you take the same picture through a camera like a P900 or P1000, where there is actual, there's digital processing going on. I said, I don't know, a couple years ago on Globebusters that I thought that the digital processing was actually helping us to see, a lot more of the true characteristics of the stars and the planets that we're photographing. Now, a lot of people have said, no, that's just like a ballooning effect or not ballooning, but blooming effect. And in fact, Chris Van Maitre was able to take a picture of a candle and get, somewhat of a very similar blooming effect, right? But there are certain photographs of stars where, there is absolute definitive patterns. To me, it does not look like it's out of focus. But I think that what's actually happening is the digital processing that's going on inside of the camera is helping us to see more of it. Yeah, see more realistically. What do you guys think about that, or do you think it's just?
I have at the end of this presentation, I have that cover.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool.
But when you say patterns, you mean the kinds of colors and the variations of the colors as they. Yeah, or as this thing seems, because I see so many different ones. Some seem to be twisting and changing.
It seems like there are some cymatic patterns, Rodrigo. Some of them actually render into cymatic, patterns, or sacred geometric patterns, at the root of everything. Wow. And I just find that really interesting. I have a hard time believing that, simple ballooning explains all that. In fact, I don't believe it. But
I'd have to look again, because I remember going out with the P1000, and after I seen people show those images, then I zoom in, of course, to a star. I get the same kind of thing that they're showing. But then when I zoom back and then zoom into a distant street light, I would get the same effect. So I'll have to do it again to see if it's identical effect. Is it maybe just because I don't remember if I just looked at it and said, oh, that looks the same, or did I actually study it and say it's identical or it's completely different,
right?
Or what?
Well, the thing that I think is interesting about that, Jaron, is when you look at other people that have taken their P900, P1000s, whatever, and they'll photograph like Sirius or Proxima Centauri or any number of stars, it seems like the pattern, the oscillation pattern, appears to agree on all of them. And I would find that hard to believe, if this is a simple ballooning effect, right, when people are replicating it on different cameras, different stars, different nights, and the stars seem to have their own unique signature, if you will. And to me, that speaks volumes,
Absolutely.
Well, the one thing to say about what Jaron just mentioned, that you would get some sort of pattern when you look at any light. On the other hand, the light is a frequency pattern, so you would expect to see something, right? That's one thing. But then it'd be interesting to see what you can come up with if you can compare, something to be artificial light, and how closely you can get to, because the sonoluminescence stuff is out there as well as mainstream science that doesn't get talked about very much by the Globers. Of course, they don't talk much about that.
Yeah, so, exactly. Go ahead, Eru. I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, man, it's okay. So, they produce this kind of brainwashing images based on reality, of course, and the diffraction of the light. So when you are looking into this tiny point in the sky, of course, you're going to have these kind of patterns that are going to split the light inside your lenses. So I put it in the fast mode, the video. But you have all these techniques that they use for drawing based on reality, just simply as that. But it doesn't mean that they are reaching the object itself, no, it's just that. Here you can see very clearly. It's just a point of light. It doesn't matter what kind of telescope you use. With any kind of power when you are looking into all these, through all these layers, you're going to have this diffraction of light, and depends in the intensity and the conditions of that star, that footprints that the star have. You're going to see different patterns. So they are, of course, compositing these images based on these conditions. You can see here on Earth, it's just simply in terms of what lenses you are using, what kind of setup your camera is using, and what kind of light you are looking into it. But that doesn't mean you're gonna know the distances. Okay, it doesn't matter. You are just looking into a point of light. You are not going to get distances based on that observation. So that is where they get this diffraction light.
Effects,
way of drawing
portraying
this.
Right,
exactly. Here you can have it. And let me just I just finish the presentation. So, and then you have, on top of this, in our modern age of technology, or at least that is my recommendation. You need to get into consideration the fact that they are using now, and I remember that I showed this in the I believe was in the Globebuster show the last Sunday. The adaptive optics on top of that, because they are trying to perform their optics observations. You have the radio telescope based on these waves that travel and reach the equipment, but they're trying to get real observation based, just like an optics, behavior. So you have all these different techniques, different methods, but this is what you're gonna get when you have this kind of amount of money to create this technology that just shoot a beam of laser to hit the atmosphere and trying to spread or normalize the temperature. It's because you are really close to that object that you are, of course, changing, which is the atmosphere. So you create this kind of, trying to this mirror glass transparency to look through, but at the end you're gonna see something like this. This kind of you are looking nothing. You are just looking a point of light again with blooming, glowing, and light diffraction. You are not receiving any more else than that. So, and the last thing is what Bob was talking about. This, on top of this, the technology, the AI, start to intervene our observations and saying we're going to get better the results that you are getting for. Well, this is, and I believe because we have the Sophia, all these things, but on top of that, we have, for example, I remember one of the the images of the year. I believe was 2016, 17, in terms of the astrophotography, was for the English guy, which is a really well-known guy. So let me play. Let me play that part, that original part. This is the technique that they use to laser. The laser. But the laser doesn't reach. It's also reach at least the Karman line.
The firmament.
Yeah. So let me just go.
If you believe that.
Well, then you have, on top of that, you have this software computation to, trying to clear the image and produce more sharpness. Just like that.
Just a sharpener grenade.
Yeah, but here is that part of the documentary. Telescopios que con eso se vería mejor.
Oh wow, that's incredible. So that's Uranus. So the first thing that strikes me then is you've got colour in that shot. Is that colour that's been captured through the telescope, or was that added on afterwards? Okay.
Later to give a more aesthetically pleasing appearance.
And that's because it's quite tricky to get the different colour components with it?
Exactly, that's right. Because these planets are so dim, it's very difficult to obtain good colour data to actually make a true colour. One of the great things is it's only in recent times that it's become possible to start recording detail on planets such as Uranus and Neptune with amateur telescopes.
Okay. Why is that, do you think?
I think it's a combination of the development of very powerful software for processing the data that we're able to capture, and the cameras we have now are so much better.
Yeah. El punto es que, so not all the telescope or all the observations is being processed by software, but we are reaching that time because when you change, when you start using digital cameras, you're gonna have the intervention of software, or you're gonna have all the power behind the GPS locations. When you are looking to the sky, they know what are you indeed looking, so they can put on top of that whatever information they want. Mm-hmm. And if you go just for optics, you're gonna have this really poor setup of few lenses to see nothing, and if you have the most powerful and biggest telescope out there, it's going to be also useless to see a point of light.
You can never see it.
Yeah. Hey,
exactly.
Let me add a little bit to this. I want people to understand a little bit what was going on. You were showing earlier the laser beam that's being fired from the telescope. And of course, what that is for, guys, a lot of people don't know this, and this still strikes me as bizarre to this day. But what that is doing is they are firing that laser at what is called the sodium layer of the atmosphere, okay? And what the purpose of it is they fire it at the sodium layer, and a concentrated beam of laser light will actually cause this sodium layer to fluoresce. And I don't think that it's any coincidence, guys, that the sodium layer is at about, guess what, 100 kilometers, right? There's that 62 mile figure.
And
thing
I pointed
again.
here, in my
Right,
100 kilo. This is my text on top of the original documentary.
So this is what they're doing. They're firing it up there. They're getting a sustaining light, and then what they're doing is, because they can create a very specific magnitude of star, artificial star, so to speak. Then what they do is they have a light reference, and if there's any atmospheric distortions or any heat, waves or anything like that, what happens is, just like you're showing on the picture here, is what they then do is they modulate the telescope mirror to kind of counteract that effect, which frankly is brilliant. But, and it's a beautiful, way of doing it. It was very well thought out, the whole 9 yards. But the fact that they can get this artificial star to sustain at 100 kilometers, that should really open some people's eyes, right?
But do you really buy this idea of redistorting the mirror to match what supposedly is coming for?
Yeah, I buy it. I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
What's the result? It just makes things a little bit sharper.
Makes it a lot sharper, because what's happening, Rodrigo, is when you have variations in the atmosphere, right? You have different layers, or say you've seen heat rising.
I get what they're trying to do. No, I understand exactly what they're trying to do. But what I doubt is that they're able to real time predict what's going to happen in these layers, the changes that may happen.
They're not predicting it, they're measuring it. That's the whole idea of what they're doing is they're projecting this artificial star that they're making on the sodium layer as a reference point, okay?
Right. No, I get it. But the results you're saying are convincing. You can actually, okay, cool. I was just thinking, wow, it sounds pretty amazing, but I guess.
Yeah, it is amazing. It really is. Yeah. But the technology, actually, when you think about it, it's very simple. It's very straightforward. And just like, most things in nature, the simplest solution tends to work the best, right?
So
and
it's
this
balancing
is a very
the
simple
waves.
solution.
Let me just clarify this. This is the image with the turbulent atmosphere. And now, when you said, well, they manage this way of make this balance in the atmosphere, shooting the laser. So now the image that we get from this is just this. Okay, it's just simple as that. It's not that right now we are looking and we see the star. No, it's from this condition to this. Yeah, it's this condition here to this, nothing more. And then from this, they present you this. It's just that, okay?
Right.
All that
it's
work.
not that, now we are looking into, inside of Uranus. No, your anus. You are looking inside your ass.
Please don't. Yes.
Well, one thing that I was wondering about, I'm not sure you guys thought about this, because of course, there's Aries failure, right? And putting the water inside the telescope, of course. Cool. But one thing is interesting is that we come from water, because we're in the womb, we're in the water. There's supposed to be waters above, right? And then there's water in the eye. Okay, this is one of the things that sometimes we forget, is water in the eye somehow affecting all this is going on. And also there's this inversion, at least we're told, that the light comes inverted into our eye and gets inverted to go into our brains upside down or whatever. There's some strange stuff going on there. But, if you're going to emulate an eye, an optics, something that's an eye, you should use the water, right? Why water and telescopes, shouldn't they be going more together? It's just, I was just wondering about that, because why not, right? If the eye itself has water.
Well, the lens itself contains water.
Sorry?
The lens itself contains water. The glass itself is...
right.
It has water. Like solid water, if you want to see that way. But, I mean... No, I don't know. I just pointed out because I am not a specialist in the lenses. Okay, so...
But I'm just wondering, because just the different ways that you can capture light from nature. There should be a great variety, and we have microscopes, telescopes, and that's it. And there's so many other options. And the eye is very different from these machines. And we're at a stage where we could possibly experiment. Not us, because we don't have the money. But if I did have the money to do something like this, I think it's a little bit too fanciful, because I think science should first take care of people who are starving and dying. That's the most important thing. People shouldn't live in poverty. First of all, that's real science.
That would be a sign that science is doing what it's supposed to help humanity.
Right. Yeah, that's the most important thing. And instead of just looking around and speculating about things. But then if you had the luxury to speculate, you should try really to have many different kinds of ways of capturing this stuff. Like there's prisms is an interesting one. People have looked into these kind of crystal balls and other things, but who knows what's the deal there. But crystal structures could be used for recording information with laser. We know this. That's something that never came out. I don't know why. I still remember seeing it on TV. But just putting it out there.
And for finish, and sorry for took so much time with this topic, but on top of that, you need to remember that what they are also doing is they are, for example, and this was filming in the Griffin Observatory. I just put my cellular phone camera into the this eyepiece for see, for example, the helium. So they use a gas, helium, inside a tube with electricity. They excite they excite the let's call the molecules gas. Okay, so you have the diffraction pattern inside that, and of course when you go to the helium, you're going to have all the sky patterns from the blue to the red, orange, violet, green, everything you have in the helium spectrum. But what I'm trying to say is they use these real observations that you need to have a container to have gas, and you need to excite via electricity,
right?
To transfer to this nonsense drawing of creation of element in supernova.
Right, yeah, that's right. It's amazing the irony of this, because it's showing you exactly what's happening up in the sky. That's why you're suggesting here, right?
Exactly, because after all, the light the light that we are looking is passing through the atmosphere, and our atmosphere has all these gases in self. It doesn't matter. When you look in the star with all this diffraction condition, that doesn't mean that light is the owner of those gases, because after all, you are looking in our own gases. I don't know if you can clarify what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but I always thought it was so strange that they claimed, in my mind that these things of gas are contained in a ball of mass of gas.
I've never gotten that.
Yeah, it's so strange, right? So it's kind of like, whatever. And it's part of the bamboozle.
And just for get a little more loud, you can laugh a little more high. You know what it is? I don't know exactly in English the name of the muons. You know what is a muon?
M-U-O.
Muons.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit, Bob?
I'm sorry, about what muons are?
Yeah, because I want to show you. You saw once a muon?
It's like a subatomic particle that's part of the electron. And I'm sorry, I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's just another one of those subatomic particles, that they say is there, but since nobody's ever even observed it, it could be there or not.
I'm observed.
Ooh.
Oh, all right then.
Oh, you have it in a...
Yes, because we have, in this heliocentric nonsense quantum theory, you need to find particles. It doesn't matter how. You need it
everywhere.
It's particles everywhere. So a muon, let me just translate it first of all. Well, I have the video here in English.
Yeah.
So
it's also classified as a lepton with a charge. whatever the hell that means.
Well, that's right. But for example, here you have. I was in the Griffin Observatory with my Flat Earth research sticker on the chest. So here you have the explanation. Let's first go to the explanation, okay? So you have this cosmic ray that are not rays, because they tell you, let me just skip forward so you can read. So there are cosmic rays, are not rays, but high energy particles from space. When they collide with gas molecules in our upper atmosphere, muons and other secondary rays, but remember they are not rays, are created constantly like a shower down to the Earth's surface. The time that supposedly this subatomic particle exists is like a trillionesimal of second, you know, something like that kind of magnitude, all right? So then you have, no, that is official, man. Then you have these dozens of those secondary cosmic rays that are not rays pass through our bodies every second. Right now, you Jeran, are bombarding
so many
dozens of this.
So
You feel it?
I feel them all.
Okay. So now, in our days, we can detect them when they go through a spark chamber and cause electric disturbance. So right now, you are going to witness one of the wonderfuls of the 21st centuries, based,
Spark
of
chamber.
course, maybe in the Tesla equipment. So you're going to evidence a muon and take a look, and it's coming right now.
Boom, I saw it.
There you go. There you go.
Bullshit.
There you got it.
All right.
That is muon.
It says the muon is an unstable subatomic particle with a mean lifetime of 2.2 microseconds. I don't think so, Tim.
But
That was a lot longer.
man.
But you're looking at it right there. It's
This
right
is
there
a
on the screen.
Fly hunter. It's like a fly hunter, you know, in the
So
in the hotel.
it appears magically out of the quantum universe and disappears also in
Yes.
space.
Yes.
And it continually does so.
For example,
can see
this muon right now was coming from from a galaxy far, far away, traveled to our atmosphere, passing through all the gases, and reached the machine inside the Griffin Observatory to delight me.
Wow.
You're
Very special.
You're stealing my LIGO line, Hiro. came from a galaxy a long time. Came from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, I need to finish this tiny presentation because I don't have any more. I don't want to leave anymore after accepting that. Sorry, I'm stop sharing right now.
All that for a 2.2 microsecond presentation.
Yes.
It's really great. It's very good. No, that was good, Hiro. I learned something. We did get a super chat from Jay Sturgis. Says, Jaron, I'm struggling with the sun going down on a flat Earth. I know about view and angular resolution. Any insight is appreciated. All right, we'll get to that one second. And then Little Wing 6 was 9 said, I choose camera over scope all day. Think parallax, not Newton. Hold the zoom or you'll miss the bigger picture. Many blessings, peace, and grace. And we get somebody, Mr. Gadget said, what do you think of the cloud chambers experiment? What do you think of the cloud chambers experiment? Well, the first one, as far as he's struggling with the sun going down on a flat Earth, I don't know if that's,
By the way, Mr. Gadget is Carlos, what's his name?
Oh, is that Carlos?
Earther guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is
Just FYI.
What is the cloud chambers experiment? Do you know what he's talking about?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I guess I could look it up. But as far as the, sun setting on a flat Earth, God, there's so many good videos out there that will show you exactly what's going on. But, I always go back to the Phuket Words video. I mean, if you can picture, I know many people have seen it before, but the guy riding the bike off into the bridge, and pretty soon you see, him, basically dissolving into that layer, which is what we see with the sun. That, really the setting is like a dissolving away. David showed it many times with his sun fade out videos. But you have to have perfect atmospheric conditions to see some of that stuff, but really it's just the thought of anything moving away from you.
Well, there's also that sun, the other video that David posted with the sun that disappears in midair. It doesn't set behind a curve. It literally just dissolves in the air.
Right.
Remember that one?
Yeah, it's just getting eaten up by the atmosphere the further it moves away.
Yeah.
At least, to what.
Also,
to
the
what I see.
Wolfie, there's a Wolfie video that he was claiming that with a sun filter, that the sun did not get smaller as it moved, or bigger and then smaller as it moved across. And I looked into that video and I measured the sun in his video, and it was getting smaller. So he was basically either he didn't check himself, or he was lying.
Yeah, but but there is a lot of video that, first of all, forget smaller. You know, all these guys make a zoom. They are not just leaving the lens, at the back part of the camera and leave as your eyes behave, for example. So they make zoom. You have a fixed focus length.
You mean they assume that they leave the camera in a single place or not? I didn't get
No, they leave the camera in a single place, but I compute that. I show that in my simulations. If you are zooming, and you reach the maximum power of that zoom in your camera, you're gonna have a fixed focal length. So the distance that the sun is going to move before disappear into the fog of the atmosphere, you are not going to have any kind of size change.
Here's David. He's saying, did anyone say sunset?
Dave might jump on now.
David's ready to jump on.
Somebody said sunset, and here I am.
We triggered
Someone said, I don't understand how the sun sets. Oh my God.
It's like, where's Dave when you need him?
I'm gonna share. Let me just share my screen as a background while David is speaking.
Okay.
Explaining the situation to us.
I will allow it.
Dave allows it.
Explain.
Okay, go ahead, Dave. Save us.
Just as you would view the sun or an airplane moving away from you and going behind a building across the street, it goes beyond it from the bottom up, right? Because you're looking at the building. Now you put that building way, way, way into the distance, you can't see it. Its angular size becomes too small, but that building is still however many stories high. Well, the same thing. I don't like calling it the cloud deck, because even when there's no clouds, that deck becomes opaque when you're looking directly across it. And that cloud deck will become a horizon. Okay, and we're a terrestrial viewer on the ground. A celestial object like the sun is moving beyond. It's just moving away, and it gets cut off. The way it gets cut off going beyond the top of a building. But to you, that deck, which is 5,000 or 10,000 feet in the air or whatever, is merged with the horizon. You think that's a horizon, but it's not.
Just so
and
much
then you can't zoom it in because you are below that atmospheric. Yeah, I mean, but you're below that atmospheric deck layer. When you're zoom, people say, "Well, you should be able to zoom in on the sun, just like you can on a boat." A boat and a person are both on the terrestrial deck.
Right.
You're in between a layer. That's like opening up a sandwich and looking in between the bread and expecting to see what's on the top of the bread. You're not going to see it. Right? Because it's the celestial object is above that. And then, as you said, with my sun fade out videos, on a perfectly clear day from altitude, we can get to a point where we're up high enough where we can see the sun far enough away where it can't push through the atmosphere anymore.
And as far as
this is Ito's demonstration here that he modeled.
I was showing this very quickly. This you have the point of light that is traveling along this flat cloud simulation, and this is seen from the camera. This is seen from outside, like a God mode. So the light is traveling a lot of kilometers, but because I'm zooming on it and I reach my maximum point in the focal length of the camera, the sun is going to still move in a way. It's going to appear to go down based on the lensing and the atmospheric condition, but it's never going to shrink. It's going to get more small than it was before, because that is, it's like a compensation between the lens that produced the atmosphere with the shrinkiness that you're going to have if you live in the non-atmosphere world. You know, you are like compensating the distances and the sizes in that just tiny part of your observation. You know what I'm trying to say is, if I have a close object to a glass of water, it's going to be more small than if I try to get away, because the glass water is going to act as a lens that magnify the object.
So it's magnifying what's in the horizon. You say when it reaches the horizon, it's magnifying, it's compensating for the fact that it's going away.
Exactly.
But we do see, you can tell in some observations, I don't know about the atmospheric conditions, but you do see it getting smaller. It's pretty clear that it's getting smaller. And then the Globers came around to say, no, it's not, because, you put sun filters, like in that one, for instance, it gets smaller.
Yeah, because you leave the camera at the back. The lens inside the camera, you leave all the zoom without no zoom, because you don't have any zoom. You are not going to have that feeling. But definitely. If I make a zoom, like the telescope, a telescope is a fixed lens. You are not, you don't have this zoom, possibility. So when you make a zoom with the camera or with the telescope, the object is going to get away, but you're never going to see or detect that shrink, that change in size. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. There is some camera that detect really small, and it's so small that the people measure in pixels, but it's like a pixel measuring pixel. Yeah, you're gonna have this feeling. But for example, all this camera is without any zoom on it. When you make a zoom, you're never going to get smaller. The object. And that is how the light behaves through a lens.
And P-Brain does a great job of explaining that too by pointing out that the sun is already removed from our view. It's not as if it's on the ground right next to you and then it moves away from you. It's already been removed from your view by being placed very high up in the sky. So it's already removed from you, and as it starts moving away from you off into the distance, the size that it changes might be very minute.
Exactly.
But it still does change.
Yeah. For example, right there, the sun, the simulation sun, is getting away from your view.
And people need to
understand. But you cannot see change in size.
Right, in that part, yeah.
And what you're showing here is that is a flat sky, flat ground, and yet it still happens.
Yeah, because all the 3D software compute a flat world.
Right.
There is no any 3D software that you are going to create. You are an idiot, man. What are you talking about?
It's going to be terrible to...
Hey, I have an idea. Let's create a 3D software in the spherical world.
Right. So like, no, don't do that.
No, nobody's going to think it that way,
Jay Sturgis
it's too complicated to do that.
Thank you, Dave. Makes more sense now. So thank you for that.
Yeah, some people, I think Mark Sargent was talking about how there's some video games that try to do this. And I remember there being some of these kind of strategy video games, because all of them are flat. But then there have been tries to put it in balls, and I don't think it worked. It just...
Well, no, you can make it work.
It's like Google Earth. Google Earth you may look at and say, oh, well, this is clearly done on a ball. But as soon as you zoom into a certain level, it gets replaced.
Flat.
Yes.
Flat.
Exactly. I remember the algorithm RQT that was created by for flying simulators, and in fact was created by Microsoft to and you have the way to enable and disable the flat Earth mode, but that is like a gradient change. For example, when you are in Google Earth, they are drawing. In terms, it's just in a project. It's like a projection. It's like you have a handle 0 to 1, flat to spherical. So you just change the object, attach it to the surface, flat surface, into a sphere, or vice versa. It's just simple as that. But you are your starting point always is a flat surface.
Right.
And when you have everything compute and creating in the flat surface, you can convert into a spherical model, but you are not going to start in the spherical world in terms of something that is useful to
another thing at the Google Earth that always caught me is that like how everything is always from above, It's just, high altitude, it could be just airplanes or balloons, but, you never get angles on things. You don't get that perspective or the changes. Also, of course, the ball. This is one of the things that you see with your own eyes out in the world. How the clouds are not tilting away from you, right, around the ball, because they have to be turned to the center of mass. That never happens. Buildings in the distance, they never start tilting away. That should be enough, because that should be happening on a curved surface. And even here, there's a bridge here that's quite long, and it is curved. It's like a curved bridge, and you just the kinds of effects you get when you walk on it, it's completely different. And then when you see, you know you're on a curved bridge, and then if you try to transfer that into what would be a spherical world, and you see it doesn't match reality. Not sure I'm getting the point across here, but that curvature that you see on the curved bridge, you don't find in the real world, especially here, because you get to see so far because it's so flat. The whole country is flat, pretty much. Where we are is a little more hilly, but we see. I mean, it's really far. I mean, I'm sure I need to check, but I'm sure I see over 50 miles with my eyes here. But yeah,
I found this question on Quora, which I think is just so damaging to people. You have Quora, you have all these people that simply answer the mainstream answer, and then people just ask, is it possible the Earth is flat? And then of course you have some mainstream guy come along and tell us that no, it would be impossible. How would you have everybody lying about it? This and that. But one of the questions somebody asked is, does Google?
I'm still sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. No, leave it. And sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Sorry.
No problem. Just the question was, does Google believe that the Earth is flat? And they said, when I compare actual photos of landscapes with the same vista in Google Earth Street View, I consistently find that Street View shows distant mountains as being higher than shown in photos. Why is this? And the answer, of course, says they do not believe the Earth is flat. However, they optimize their Street View model so it can run faster in a browser on your computer. Rendering 3D on computers always involves a lot of trade-offs, optimization, shortcuts, simplifications, and compromises. Taking Earth's curvature into account when rendering Street View would cost a lot of computer power, making it slower and jerkier, which is unpleasant and user-friendly. Oh man! So they just ignore the fact that the Earth is round to make Street View render faster.
What?
Wow!
Oh my goodness!
If you want to believe that, that's
incredible.
Great. Yeah.
The one thing that you guys, I don't know if you wants to talk about it later, but there's some astrophysicist in Argentina who's from some university, and he has come out to make this series against flat earthers, and it's like comical. And I guess he's speaking specifically. He's afraid of Iru. Iru has tried to debate this guy.
Yeah, he wants never debate with me in the real life, in the radio. And now he's producing a series of debunking flat Earth video, but no, it's completely, it's like a troll guy. It's better
so green
than this guy, And I'm going to close now my presentation. This is screen share, but I'm trying to recreate without any computing the lens effects, nothing like that. I trying to show what I'm trying to say about the zooming factor thing. So let me just if I can. Well, no, I guess if I don't render this out, it's not going to compute.
Not gonna happen. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's gonna happen.
So this is now it's a kind of fake kind of world here. It's not, or I mean, at least for as far as the simulation is what do you call the orthogonal view?
No, this is a perspective view, but I'm trying to show you that if you are like a super lens with a maximum zoom on it, and you're never gonna get that change in size. It's like you're never gonna have that. But I need to compute I need to render, to have I believe that. That feeling, because if I don't render it's gonna still like in no real world conditions.
So what you're saying here is what you're trying to show is that. So what you're trying to show is that with the lens emulating the conditions in a high zoom, the sun moving, it does not seem to change sizes. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Like I did here in this
right.
simulation, but I need to process all that data. And sorry, I fail.
It's okay. We'll allow
guys.
it. And then Carlos did send me a video of what he was trying to talk about.
Stop sharing.
Okay, stop sharing. I guess I need to share if people want to see what I'm looking at. This is what Carlos sent me. It says thermoelectric cloud chamber, 1080p. Again, I haven't watched this yet, so I don't know what he's trying to show.
I don't see it, Darren, on your feed.
Sorry. Let me share my screen so you can see it easier. Start sharing. All right. Do you see it now?
I see it.
Yes.
So I'm not really sure. That's this machine here. It says a piece of radioactive uranium material. But when I read the description real quick, it says demonstration of the Cloudy Labs cloud chamber with some low activity radioactive sources. It works with 8 thermoelectric modules with a closed loop liquid cooler, so it can display the first particles within 1 minute. A magnet is put inside the machine under the interaction surface, so during the whole video a magnetic field is present and deflect the light charged particles. No, it seems very fine to me. I don't know how this would prove. Are you trying to say this proves the sphere or something? Because it certainly isn't. That's certainly not what they're showing here. In fact, it's a chamber where they're creating clouds, right? Is that what that's technically doing?
Creating clouds?
Could be, but you always need a medium that is not in the vacuum.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Also, the chamber is not a sphere, right?
No.
Holding. Yeah.
No, it looks pretty flat in there to me. Thanks, Carlos, for some flat Earth proof. We like that.
It does have
excellent. He is going to be a flat earther before long.
It does have edges. It does have a top. It does have a bottom. It does have walls. But it looks like they're placing magnets and then.
It is interesting, though, what's going on there.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to watch this video and understand it more, but I certainly have never seen this before, and I don't really know what the point of asking.
So it looks like clouds can only be generated on a flat plane then by this simulation.
And with magnets.
Or
it's awesome,
magnets. At least in a contained atmosphere, which is what's going on here. This certainly isn't happening with a vacuum attached.
The vacuum, yeah, next to a vacuum.
But
with no container next to a vacuum.
But this certainly looks like, when I watch my time lapses of clouds, this is what I see, is kind of this spreading. So I mean, it's pretty accurate as far as observationally. But I'll have to look into that more. So I will also include a link to this thermoelectric cloud chamber. So let me grab that and copy that. All right. So I don't know if there was something more you wanted us to think about as far as that goes, or what you're trying to show that proves or doesn't prove. But I will definitely watch that again. So thank you for that.
Yeah, drop that in our internal chat if you would, Jern.
Sure. Yeah, I'll drop that right now. And you were trying to render something, or you gave up? Didn't know what you were doing.
I never give up, man. Never said that word again, okay?
There is no can't.
No, I am not trying. But I remember that I have some place in my 6 terabyte of information, in order indexed information, some kind of distance tricky that cameras do when you have a full zoom on it, in on mode, but I can't find it yet.
Oh, okay.
So I am not to give up, but maybe we can change topic, and then
find it eventually
when I find it, I bring back the topic and mess all the show.
All right. So Geocentric Love sent a super chat saying, enjoying the show as always. You are all brilliant, and I have so much gratitude for all your contributions. Much love and blessings. Well, thank you. I don't know if I would use the word brilliant for myself other than observant, but call it what you will. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But anyway, thanks for the super chat. We do appreciate that. The other thing, let's see here. What else did I have to show? I did want to say a thank you to a few people who sent me sympathy cards this week, so thank you guys for that. One of them was pretty good. It was from Captain Flatastic. Maybe people have heard of him. But he sent me a sympathy card and a gift card for Christmas, which was very kind. And then he sent me a T-shirt. I got to show this T-shirt if I can bring it up here. Let me see. Let's see if we turn this off and turn this on. Yeah, he sent me this T-shirt, which I don't know. I actually wore it yesterday, believe it or not. It's a NASA ugly sweatshirt-like T-shirt, which I thought was pretty funny. It's so funny to see the astronaut with the helmet on, right? But funnier than that, I thought, I don't know if anybody saw this. This was D Marble's ugly sweatshirt. Anybody see this?
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Steve didn't kill himself.
That's great. So his definitely wins any contest. He put here, I don't always participate in office holiday functions, but when I do, and of course he's got the very ugly sweater that says the very true statement that Epstein didn't kill himself. That's good stuff. Very.
It's funny. It's funny. This thing, a tradition. Is it tradition to wear ugly Christmas sweaters? Is that it?
I guess
Because here it is. Here in Holland, apparently.
Yeah, I was shopping yesterday and I saw one section. Where were we? Target? Yeah, where they just had rack after rack after rack of ugly sweaters. So I guess it is a tradition. But I had my ugly T-shirt on yesterday, so thank you very much, Captain Platastic, for that. What else did I get? I got something else in the mail that was kind of funny. Let me see if I can bring this up. And I'm sure you'll know right away who sent this. Let's turn all these off. So I got this package. Who do you think, Bob?
Oh, that's right. And you know what? I got one
Plugging
of those.
everything. Plugging everything.
It's so funny.
I got one of those too, and thank you, David. It was awesome.
Yes.
It's very.
I didn't receive that, David.
You're too far away.
You're not. Yeah.
Not so much, man. We live in a flat world, and
it's very easy.
We are not so,
Yeah. So of course I got this package which is decorated with flat Earth stuff. I said, okay, well this is my very first Christmas present this year. So let me actually bring up, if I can, I'll show you what I got. You got one too, Bob?
I did.
Yeah, let me see.
And in fact, it's sitting right here next to me. It's awesome.
There we go. So this is what I got. It was my 2020 calendar, which I can't wait to start using come January 1st. But
oh, nice.
Yeah. So David sent this, and very
really?
cool. It's
Where
awesome.
can we get this? Can we buy this?
Yeah. Well, I guess he said the only thing that's bad about it is it's $20 each, which isn't bad for a calendar, I don't think. But it's $10 shipping. So $30. Yeah, maybe that gets a little bit more steep. But it's $20. I'm sorry, it's $10 shipping no matter how many you order. So, if you ordered, 200 or 20 of them, it would be, or 10 of them would be $210. So maybe good for giving out some gifts, and you'll have to talk to David. Maybe he can either jump back on if he can tell us where to get them, or if you have to order them yourself. I think you can go there and put whatever you want as the graphics, but I thought it was really cool, and I can't wait to use it.
Yeah.
It's a really, really nice calendar, too. It's heavy stock.
Oh, yeah, it's super nice.
It's not cheesy at all. It's great.
Yeah, no, so I was very excited about getting that, my first Christmas gift, so thank you, David, and there you go.
Satellite photograph. That's a very nice one.
Right.
Oh, look at Pluto.
Right, oh, look at Pluto.
Oh,
it's very real. Where's the curvature from 120,000 feet? That's what
satellite.
Globally
exactly how it's. Yeah, you can see that with your telescopes. No, go back.
Go
that
back.
one.
This one here?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just look out into space, you'll see all that.
Just how I see it. Here's David. He came back.
Yeah, I
somebody talking about me?
Yep.
Somebody mentioned my calendar.
Somebody mentioned my calendar.
I like the calendar.
Wait, show them the back cover.
Okay, there's the back cover.
Yeah, the flat Earth clock.
What is that? Is it a new app?
You never heard of this app?
No, man.
It's all right. I kind of like it.
I like the picture on the November month, with the boat pulled up next to the ice wall. You've got that. You've got a bazillion pictures of the ice wall and pictures like that. You have Captain Cook's accounts and Ross's accounts of the ice wall going on for miles and miles and miles as far as the eyes can see. And yet you have idiot Globers that are always saying, so where is this ice wall? Yeah. Show me a picture.
Show me a picture of the ice wall.
Ever taken a picture of it?
Right.
Yeah.
They always say
about 10 million of them.
Flat Earthers believe a Game of Thrones world with the ice wall. They say that all the time.
I have when anyone says that comment, I have a video on my channel called "How to Jump Off the Flat Earth," and it's basically just pictures and videos of the ice wall. So here's the deal. There's a PDF link on the video on my channel that you can download yourself, but then it doesn't print with bleeds. You see how this one, the ink goes to the edge of the paper. But for a few people that will want them, I did say it's only in the United States, but I can order them and pick the country, and they're printed in that country. So if anybody does want them in another country, I can do it. But you were right about the price. It's $10 shipping and $20 a calendar.
Yeah, so super awesome though.
Connection okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yep. But it's by far my favorite Christmas gift yet.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful calendar, Dave. I mean, it's awesome. Thank you so much for that, by the way.
You're welcome. It's super high quality. You know, for you and Jared, you said it. $20, it's not a bad deal. You know, $30, you start scratching your head. But if you look at it, I totally screwed up because I could have ordered them and had them shipped directly to you. But the postage was more than the $10 shipping.
Right. I think it said $18 on the package. So I was like, all right, David's spending a little bit. Hey, thanks. I love it. I love Christmas gifts, and it was slightly better than my ugly sweater T-shirt. Sorry, Captain Flatastic.
So here's the question I have. How does D Marble look so good in an ugly sweater?
I know, it's sad, isn't it? I would look like a joke if I tried to put that thing on. He actually looks like he's fashionable, you know?
I know. It's like he could wear that and be like, oh, whatever.
Don't notice it's an ugly sweater. Like, oh, yeah, man. Cool.
Yeah, I can support that.
Captain Flatastic also sent me an article from I think this magazine is called Wood. That's what it says. Wood magazine from Better Homes and Gardens teaches you how to build, things out of wood. But in one of the pages towards the back, there's this thing on lunar lumber, and it talks about the idea that they sent some tree seeds in orbit of the moon, and then they came back and planted the tree, and then it was destroyed during one of the, I don't know if it was, which hurricane it was. I'd have to find that in here. But anyway, Hurricane Irma destroyed the tree in September of 2017, but somebody captured 30 feet of the tree, 30 foot, what do you call that, 30 feet of the tree, and is making moon art out of wood. It's terrible.
So the seed went around the moon or to the moon and came back? Is that it?
Yes. These
and
seedlings.
then they planted it. It's a special plant.
Then they planted it, and the tree grew for some 40 years until Hurricane Irma destroyed it. Then they took a portion of the tree and are making Apollo 14 and Apollo 15 little moon arts. I'll have to take some images of this and show it next time because it's pretty classic. Oh, boy. It's just they can sell people on anything. They really can. I mean, now I saw that Elon Musk is sending weed to the ISS. I don't know if people saw that.
I heard about it.
You heard about that? Oh, boy. It's just nonstop.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not, but...
That's what I heard. I don't know. I'm sure it's not true.
Well, they already had... Jaren, you caught the astronaut snorting something out of a tube. That was very sketchy.
I heard it was very low THC weed that he was sending.
So it's legal to send that now? Oh, boy. I don't know.
Yeah, as long as the THC is 10%.
What did he send? Are they seeds?
No, he just sent some Mexican dirt weed with seeds and stuff. Yeah, maybe they're gonna grow it. Jaren, what the hell?
With a Cypress Hill CD?
This is a false binary. Did they send good weed or did they send crappy weed? No,
did they
didn't
send
any weed.
some good Cali Bud, or what did they send exactly? Oh boy, that's classic. What else?
Some stuff.
Oh man, it is such crap.
Did you guys see the new the new video from the space station of the kids asking the same stupid questions again?
Oh, that's the one that
we could watch that. I do have it up.
It makes me so angry to watch that and watch these kids where they're being sucked into this belief system.
Let me guess. Are they reading too? Are they reading their questions?
You can watch it if you like. You can put it on. It's the most recent one.
Yeah, I think
this came out today.
How do you sleep? Is it easy to go to sleep? What science have you done? Oh, we've done lots of science. We do experiments, we do science.
Oh boy, did they say that again?
Oh my God, everything again and again, and the stupid woman.
All right, let's watch a little bit. Tell me to pause it if anybody wants to comment.
Are you ready for the event?
Just jump forward a third of the way through.
Houston,
a third of the way? What's this guy doing there?
There you go.
The first question.
Oh boy, what's this jackass doing?
Christina.
Good morning, sir. My pleasure to be with you.
It's Ted Cruz.
Thank you for the
Ted Cruz using the number 11.
You've got about 1,100 kids amazed to be watching you floating in front of their eyes, up in space, over Texas.
No delayed stay, and they're over Texas for how long?
We're proud of you, and we
Look,
may
they
have
love
a
to
few
flip that
junior
mic.
astronauts who are going to
Ooh,
come
they love
join
that.
you on a later mission.
Mm-hmm. 20 years on the International Space Station. And
Wait until you get to the questions. They're
How is
great.
training for going to the moon, which NASA's getting ready to do again,
Oh, yeah, they are.
different from training to be on the space station?
And, of course, these are all predetermined questions.
Sir, thank
Different
you for the
swimming
question
pool.
and for the greetings. Yes, I was waving as we flew over Texas just a few minutes ago, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all on board. I'm really looking forward to all the questions today. Training for a moon mission is indeed going to be different, but it's so exciting as part of the Artemis mission that NASA is focused on right now to go back to the moon in the next coming years. And the differences in the training, I think, revolve around the differences in the moon environment, different gravity, different science, different mission.
Oh, different
So
science.
the different gravity means that we're not, for example, when we train for spacewalking,
put them
we're going
underwater.
to be training
Boy.
in different suits that allow us to actually walk on the surface of the planet or of the moon, which has about 1/6 the gravity of the Earth. And one interesting thing is that we're actually already modifying the training facility that we use to train for spacewalks for that lunar environment.
Oh
We
my
train in a
goodness! And they're in the
gigantic
water, and they
pool that
show
has a
you them
complete
under the
mock-up of
water, and they talk about the
International
moon.
Space Station in it. It's 40
my
feet deep,
goodness.
100 feet by 200 feet wide.
Oh, there we go.
And they've modified it to be able to actually simulate moon gravity in the pool.
What?
So that's one really
Oh,
exciting thing.
brother.
Their training is different. Also, the mission is going to be slightly different. We're really focused
Oh
on the
my
science
God.
that the geology of the
Focused
moon
on
can
the
offer,
science.
as well as how the moon can be a platform for us to
You-
test our
I
technology.
got to ask the fanboys out there, how can you possibly believe her hair really looks like that? I mean,
Mars missions, deeper
Carlos,
space
Carlos,
missions.
you got an
So
answer
we'll be
for that?
looking
I
at
mean,
the
seriously,
best
give me a
trained
break.
to fulfill those mission goals as well.
It's
So
so
it's
funny.
a really exciting time to be an astronaut.
Oh, it's so exciting.
No, the problem that with
we
that
go.
sand moving
And
underwater
these guys are-
is that we don't have air in the outer space. So the sand behavior, and I made my own simulations, will be like it's almost reach the
Well, you know
outer
what?
space. It's not going to fall like they show in that supposedly underwater simulation. That is completely out of their model.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Doesn't
You're not
really-
going to have
This
the
is
sand going down to the floor again, to the
Exactly.
seafloor again. In the moon, if you move the dust, it's almost it's going to spread all across, maybe hundreds of meters.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Completely
don't
different.
tell me that is going. And you remember, I
vacuum
can't
of
find
the
it, but
water
you remember the answer, the question from the guy, from a boy in the school, and the response from the astronaut is completely different. Like it was another question.
What you saying? The kid asked one question and he answered another one.
And yes, exactly.
I think that was with the Peggy, wasn't it? With the girl?
I can. I have one with the boy.
Oh, okay.
with the man
I'm sure they
inside
happens a lot.
but I can't find it.
That's weird for Iru. Iru can usually find everything.
Yeah, man. I find the other one with the question,
With the girl
thing
and
with the
she's-
mirror thing. But I
Right.
think we are out of topic. So
And then they're always
What?
reading from the wall, because these are all
Oh, yeah.
pre-prepared, of course. I mean, let's see.
Oh yeah. And but one thing that's new about this one is that you have a politician there. He's not looking for votes, right?
and
course.
not
He's just-
not
he's-
and
Well, he's from Houston, and Houston is, I mean, the whole state basically is built around NASA.
right. Yeah, of course.
but the
You know
thing is,
what?
we never see what actually the kids are looking in the screen. We
No,
don't
What they
know
have.
actually
what they
see.
see.
That's right.
They may
Yeah,
not
we
even
never
see
have
this.
that, so we don't
Yeah.
know the in betweens, what happened between one answer and the other, what they are playing. I don't know.
Remember
It's
the
always
one
supposed to
I've
be
showed it.
right?
Yeah.
It's never live. These things, or are they supposed to be live?
There
some
was
of
the
them?
one time it was supposed to be live. Remember, I showed that video where the astronaut Tim Peake was supposed to do some experiment with a little round ball on a little track. Remember that?
Yes,
And then
yes, I have.
they wouldn't do it live. They said, "Oh, you
Exactly.
couldn't do it live."
Oh
I
yeah.
said, what?
Unfortunately,
what are you talking about?
we cannot go in live with this.
Right, but he's standing right there. He's talking to them. So how hard would it be to put the track and the ball in your hand and just do
Right.
it?
That's the one you see with when Rockefeller goes see them, right? And you see in the back, Rockefeller is visiting the JPL, and then you see Team Peak holding the ball in the back
no,
when they.
Not Rock. You mean Bush?
No, I think it's a guy in a wheelchair. Is it not?
Yeah, it's President Bush, I think.
Oh, was it Papa Bush?
Yeah, Papa Bush.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know
just
what you're
as
talking
bad.
about. But yeah, it's basically the same thing. He's got the. You mean the grid behind him?
But the grid is something that you can. If you want, you can justify that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
because
No,
it's just a grid.
I'm not
It's
somebody
not
who's somebody who
especially
thinks
for
that's flat.
CGI tracking technique.
No.
I wanted to be in.
Is this reaching? Look at the stripes on her legs. Are those new? Those are fairly new, right?
They've always had those for Velcro. It's Velcro.
Is it? They're 3 and 3, 33.
Interesting. I don't know what they usually wear. I've seen them before with like an iPad attached to there. So like
Yeah, sometimes
because the iPad will float away if we don't.
I got Russian
And they-
vids in my head. I'm saying 33.
And I guess they
Yeah.
just printed off that ISS 20 thing to celebrate next year. I guess they printed in their printer on the ISS.
I always wonder that. Can you imagine these deliveries that they get with these flags and these baseball jerseys and footballs and baseballs and it's so ridiculous. I mean, we held them dead to rights on that one where they somehow figured out who was going to be in the Super Bowl, right? And then we brought it up, and then days later they came out with this thing saying, "Oh, well, actually, we sent them every jersey."
All they had to say is,
Silver tracks.
all right. All you have to say is they had to say is, all right, you caught us. Football's fixed.
An astronaut since I was about your age and even before. In fact, I don't even really remember a time when I didn't want to be an astronaut. And when I look back and think about what
Always the
inspired me,
childhood
I think
stories,
about all
always
the
the
things
same.
that made me ponder the universe, things that made me feel small, things like the night
Inspiration.
sky, things like the ocean. I grew up in coastal North Carolina, so I had the opportunity to go out boating and to just experience the world, and that ignited a fire of exploration in
To
me.
leave the world.
And
Yeah,
in
she
terms of
loved
who
the world so much,
inspired
wanted
me,
to leave
I think
it.
I was most inspired by the people around me who
great.
supported
I would like to
me.
go around it
My
numerous
parents
times
who
a day.
both majored in science. My grandmother in particular had a just really strong work ethic and instilled that in all of us. And then of course Sally Ride was a big inspiration for me, the first American female in space, and seeing someone whose image reminded me of myself made me know that maybe that was something that I could do too.
Thank you.
That was before the rectal probes.
My name is Isabella Woodfell, and I'm in 3rd grade. And what happens when you chew gum and blow a bubble in space?
Oh boy.
No,
Iru could answer this.
No.
Oh.
Wow, that
I
would have
don't
been a
want to.
really fun
I don't
question
want
to
to.
get to research if only we had bubble gum on board. We do have chewing gum a little bit up here, so chewing gum is about the same, but
We have
that
chewing
bubble,
gum.
you know, I seem to recall
What
that
a
when
nice
you
question,
pop a bubble when you're
very
blowing a bubble
important.
gum
So
bubble,
easy for her
it
to
tends to
answer.
kind of wrap around your chin a little bit, and I think that might be the only difference in space. It would probably still
What?
the elasticity of the bubble would cause it to come back on your face, but my guess is that you wouldn't have that gravity pulling it down like that, so maybe it'd be more likely to hit you in the forehead.
What?
Yeah, supposedly if the bubble gum bubbles explode,
Hi, my name is
it's
Christian.
gonna
I'm in
science.
sixth grade.
Science
go into your
Question for you is,
face,
about
like
24
here
hours
on
before
Earth,
sunrises and sunsets.
but in space. Because here on Earth, if you make a really big bubble of chewing gum, it's gonna split in your face. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Because you still have with your teeth you have one part of the chewing gum inside your mouth and some lighter part outside in
Right,
the
it's
air,
gonna
so
pop in
when
there.
it explode, you know, the surface tension and all that kind of things is going to bring to your face. Also, it's the same thing here on Earth, because it's happened so quickly here on Earth that it's going to split all over your head. It's not going to go falling down if the bubble is big enough. Okay.
I think the astronaut should have said you shouldn't chew chewing gum because it's not good for you. I wish I never chewed chewing gum, and I don't do it for years and years and years. I think it's kind of like, I'm very glad I didn't. I was having problems with biting at night and stuff and getting nervous because you're chewing. Totally don't recommend it. That's what I would say to a kid.
If I was an astronaut, I say to the kid, that is why you are a kid and I'm an astronaut, because you make these silly questions. So let's continue with another kid, please.
Nice way to talk to children.
The other thing is, anybody else calling bullshit on the 1,100 children in this auditorium? There's no way. It's just bullshit. You know, that's just me. You
There
got
is
the whole
empty
back row
spaces
is
at the
empty,
back.
And, you know, you figure if we count about here, there's maybe 50. So maybe here there's 50. So that's 100, 200. I don't know. I don't see 1,100, but whatever they say.
Experience on Earth. When do you fall asleep in space? And is it easy for you to fall asleep in space?
It's these poor indoctrinated kids.
You're exactly right. We have 16, 17 sunrises and sunsets every single day, and that's because we're orbiting around the Earth about every hour and a half. So we can't just go to sleep when it's night and wake up when it's day. So we have very designated times. We actually sleep according to the sort of nighttime of the time zone that we follow here on board the International Space Station. And of course, we could pretty much pick any time zone to follow. So we pick a time zone that's kind of in between all of the different centers on Earth that we work with. We work with centers in Moscow, Japan, Europe, and of course, Houston. So we have a time zone that is Greenwich Mean Time. It's
Go to the next one.
And fall asleep.
What? Oh boy.
I have here, let me just, if I can
Hi, my
send
name
to
is
you
Jeannie
via
Hollingshead, and I'm with Jordan Monica, and I'm in 4th grade. What has been your greatest accomplishment in this mission?
All right, I want to hear this answer. Give me the
They
card.
grew lettuce.
Biggest accomplishment.
I would have to say that my greatest accomplishment wouldn't be just one thing. It would be just overall every day resolving to bring my best and to have a positive attitude every single day. I've been up here for over 250 days and I've got several more to go. So I think that attitude of just remembering that it's my job to give back and to be the best team member I can be with the ground teams in Houston is what I'm most proud of.
Okay, great. That's your greatest accomplishment.
Which is nothing, just playing the team, playing team game.
Grade, how has your perspective in life changed after being in the space station?
Here we go. Looking back at the curvature of the Earth, the blue marble, gives you a perspective, shows you
That's
how
a great
innocent-
question. I think for me, the biggest perspective change has been the view that we have back on our planet Earth. Because having the opportunity to see Earth from space and really see it as this island in the universe has really changed my perspective.
Same line
What I realize
from
is that
Chris Hadfield,
humans
exactly
are
the
more
same.
alike than we are different. We all need the same things in
Look
life.
how nonsense
and
this
we
whole
all
thing
sort
is
of
anyway.
cling
This is not how a sphere would rotate at all.
to the same
Look how
island
the bottom
that,
goes by.
that
It's just
sustains
nonsense.
us all. And interestingly,
I don't know
the
how people
things
are
that do
tricked by
make
stuff
us
like that. I'll just rewind it
planet
a little
Earth,
bit, just see it again.
Because having the opportunity
This
to
is like a
see
zoom
Earth from
lens?
space and really
I don't understand this part. Is this like zoomed in, this circle here? I don't understand
see
why
it
it
as
like
this island in the universe.
zoom and then it
That's
goes
the
away.
cupola.
It's
Changed
very
my
small. The
perspective.
cupola.
What I've realized is that humans are more alike than we are different. We all need the
Yeah,
same things to
it's
bring
moving
us
way too
together
fast,
and
so
that
it
we
looks
care
really close to
What'd you send me?
whatever
Hero?
image.
I send you because in this particular video, the girl at some point, some kid is gonna answer. Is gonna ask her about what do you do in space to have past the time goes by. And she said, I like to read a lot, and she brings like a square, super big book. And the first thing that I start thinking is, why if you are an adult, you're going to have that kind of kid's book in the ISS? And then I remember that the Japanese astronaut, they all the time make the same things, and they indoctrinate kids with this kind of thing. I mean, look at the cover of the book is The Wizard Who Saved the World, and they have this Jesuit, holding the ball.
The Wizard Who Saved the World.
Yeah, but look, that is super highest.
You want me to play?
Symbology.
Press play? Oh, it's only 7 seconds.
Yeah, you could press play if you want.
Hi, I am JAXA astronaut Koichi Wakata. Welcome to Story Time from Space.
Oh boy! The washed out view and everything.
So now, if you go forward in the girl video, you're gonna find the same equivalent, indoctrination, and look at the book that she have. Maybe you can scrub through the timeline in YouTube and see the thumbnail, because she's gonna take a little more forward, maybe.
Okay, more forward than this.
Yeah.
This girl. No.
No, go. Continue.
This guy?
No, go a little more.
This guy? Girl?
No, maybe it's before. Maybe it's before. It's back in time. More at the beginning, less than the half. A little less.
Didn't we watch all this? Maybe we didn't. Who has a book? The astronaut, you're saying?
Yeah, the astronaut. The astronaut.
Maybe here.
Take it.
That we can attach to any surface, the wall, the ceiling,
She
whatever.
takes a book and
Zip ourselves
also
up in
like
it, resolving to
Christmas
bring my-
hat in some.
Oh yeah, I saw the
part
Christmas
of-
hat here. Okay, here we go. This part.
Season in space. How will you celebrate and make it feel like home while away from your family?
That's a great question. And don't worry, we have plenty of Christmas gear up here. And we like to actually get in the spirit quite a bit. We sing Christmas carols sometimes, even on the radios. We have cookie decorating. We play Christmas music all the time, sometimes in the background when we're working and sometimes at a meal. I think we might all have some Christmas presents for each other stashed away somewhere. So we're definitely trying to get into the Christmas spirit. And luckily our ground teams help with that as well. And they remind us that, you know, we should be getting ready for Christmas up here.
We should be.
I am looking here in my
tell me if you find it.
We've been
computer.
following you
Yeah,
on
sorry
Twitter
for
and
the.
noticed you're working on medical research and microgravity.
All right, let's look
What
at
has
a
been your most
fantastic
fascinating
finding.
in that field?
Fascinating finding. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
You're exactly right, and I love that field. I love the fact that it brings so many benefits back to Earth. I think the most interesting thing that microgravity offers is in medical, pharmaceutical, or medicine research.
Oh, great.
There's this really neat thing called protein crystal growth, which means that things like proteins, which can help us when we learn about them to fight things like cancer, when we can crystallize them, which is something
we can cure all diseases.
can't actually be done on the Earth and can only be done up here in space.
What?
That means we have a better chance. Cases can't actually be done on the Earth to fight things like cancer when we can crystallize them, which is something in many cases can't actually be done on the Earth and can only be done up here in space.
Bullshit.
That means we have a better chance of understanding those proteins and then by developing medicines to fight them. So I had the privilege of being a part of an experiment called microgravity crystals, where we actually imaged crystals of a very particular protein.
Microgravity crystals.
10 minutes and 30 seconds.
10 minutes and 30 seconds. All right.
My free time. And the nice thing is nowadays with e-books on tablets, we can actually read almost any book without having to carry it up in the limited space that we have on spacecraft. But
we have all these Christmas
that being said,
hats and
we
stuff.
do have some really cool books on board. In fact, this is a book
I mean,
called
why you have
Mars
a kid's
Will
book
Go.
on board?
And
Because
to
that
Mars
size,
for
that
students and
letter,
have those
that drawing on
published
the
for
cover,
outreach.
that is
So
for
we do
kids.
have a couple
Yeah.
really
It's not for
good,
adults.
children's books on
Hey
board
ho,
that we
we're
enjoy.
going to Mars.
We have children books on board, and in the back, and
Hi,
post
my
the
name's
back
Avery
cover.
Brinkley, and since you've been in space for
It's
almost
like
a
an
year, and we'll be spending
go a little backward,
But
and when she
that being
turns,
said,
when
we
she
do
turns,
have
the
some
back is
really
like
cool
an eye,
books on board.
like
In
you
fact,
know,
this is a
if
book
you are
called
looking
Hey
one
Ho,
eye,
to Mars Will Go.
you know, it's
And we
full
get to
of
read
all kind of
books for
symbology all the time to hypnotize
Yeah, they do
our
that all the time.
young generations. You know, they need to do this because they need to brainwash. You know, you have the planet Mars on there, and then the text surrounding the planet Mars is not like an spherical or circular path. It's like an ellipsoid path forming the eye. And I mean, it's disgusting, man. I mean, they wizard the world.
Can I show you something that relates to this?
Sure. Yeah, I think we're done here. I don't know what they're doing here. Did they come back? One moment, please. It says.
Do you still have me?
They went to blue screen.
Okay.
Right.
And came back.
Hi, I'm Olivia Smith, and I'm in the 8th grade, and I was wondering if spacewalking met your expectations. And
so I would say the only difference is they can't simulate what it looks like when the Earth is gliding by you, below you, and you look down
Yes,
and
they
all
can.
you see is your space boots.
That's a
and
bullshit lie. They can simulate that.
grades
That's
or
exactly what
repairs.
Uru shows.
So I would say
You
the only
simulate that.
difference upgrade spacewalks, we actually had an unexpected situation where one of the power charge units that works with the batteries
Demonstration from STEM.
the batteries, and
It's
we
terrible.
knew that we.
See, this last question here, and then you can show.
Hi, I'm Kendall Felton. I'm a sophomore. And my question is, how have you dealt with living in a small contained space for a long period of time? And how do you mentally prepare?
Jeez, it's just the same questions every time. There's no...
The Mickey Mouse in the back. Look at that Mickey Mouse, even with the mustache.
Yep. All right, what are you going to show? You want to share your screen?
So yeah, let me show you something here. Boom, 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 boom. How do you do this? See if I don't press the wrong place. Share screen. Start sharing. You see what I'm seeing here?
Yep.
See, this is a book, Placing Outer Space. And
3D, wow.
And that's the cover. It is by an anthropologist. Her name is Lisa Messeri. And she hung out with astrophysicists. Okay, and what I want to show you, I mean, this is something I'm preparing. This is some of my notes here on the side. And what this person did, the anthropologist hung out with these people who were finding Mars in the desert of Utah. So she, at one point, she describes that's how she, as an anthropologist, trying to understand how these physicists are finding other worlds on the Earth. And at one point that she's walking with them in the desert, they find these pebbles on the ground and they start going crazy. And she doesn't understand what it is. Like, why are they so happy? They're exulting. And they say they found exactly the same as those blueberries from Mars. And so then she starts telling the story, right? So it's quite interesting, this book. I recommend it. She's making the best, trying to, please them. But what really I want to show you that comes across with this discussion showing literature in space is that when she was hanging out with these people who were in the desert pretending it was Mars or doing field work, looking at things that they then try to relate to things that come from images supposedly that come from Mars, what she found out is that they are infused in science fiction. All they do at night, whenever they're done with their work, is that they're totally enthralled in science fiction. So here the chapter is called narrating Mars in Utah's desert, right? So Mars is found in Utah's desert. Utah and Mars come together at the Hab in a different way. Hab is a habitat where they're living, right? They are living in this habitat, simulating Mars. So these are people taking money from NASA. So Utah and Mars come together in a different way. They do in the field. The Mars imagined in the Hab and nearby is not the scientifically known Mars of the present, but the human-inhabited Mars of the future. It is a vision of Mars shaped by popularizers of science fiction writers who have speculated on the nuances of human life in a Martian colony. The habitat becomes a place world, not because of remembrances of the past, but through invocations of future past. And this is kind of anthropologizing it. She's doing the theory here. They're making this place world. They're making this future that doesn't exist. She's saying it. A phrase used by the literary scholar now. We can think of sci-fi story not as prophecies, but as histories of events yet to happen.
Oh, God.
Those familiar with the sci-fi genre, as most MDRS visitors, like the people that this Mars mission are, have the opportunity to weave their personal narrative into a familiar yet speculative story. And here it comes. Narratives of science fiction spill over into the library and DVD collections amassed at the habitat over the years. Most crews reserve the evening for entertainment, watching movies on laptops, or, as my crew did, bringing a projector for more theatrical experience. Crews report mostly watching science fiction, ranging from classics like 2001 and Dune to the more recent campy fare Starship Troopers and Galaxy Quest. So many Mars-based films, Total Recall, Mars Attacks, Red Planet. So...
Jeez.
And they go on. This is where they're living. This is what they're doing. Simulated spacesuits, going back to their habitat. So the anthropologist then lived with them and wrote this book. And she's literally saying here, they're imagining all this stuff and they're finding on the floor, on the Earth. And, of course, she's not say she is safe. They, of course, imagining because they're not going anywhere. Of course, as we know, they're not going anywhere. But I think this is fascinating, and that there is an anthropology of this that's come out recently, and that living and working on Mars, a science fiction narrative.
So she stayed there for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. What do you mean, the anthropologist?
Yeah, she like lived with them for a certain period of time.
Yeah. Essentially, her job, and I'm done presenting this. There's a lot more here. Of course, we can look at it at some other time. I can make a presentation on this if you guys like. But yeah, what she would do, because anthropologists do field work when they hang out in a different community. So I went to Shetland Islands and I spent my time there 2 years hanging out with people there and trying to understand how the community worked from the inside, how relationships were woven, and the musicians, what kind of music they were playing, what they were doing, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot that comes out of this. It seems like it's just musicians, but of course people are connected to other people, and there's just a lot you can get even in a small community. And that place, of course, is connected to the whole world because it's a maritime community and it's an island with very great sailors, a tradition of sailing. So these people there's a South Shetland Islands. So these are people who are going all the way from Shetland to the south, and they would go to Hudson Bay, they go all the way to Tasmania, Australia, and so on ships. So you get those stories there. So that was my way of doing anthropology for my PhD. What she did is that she got money to hang out with these NASA scientists who are doing this, living in this habitat. And she probably took some money from NASA. NASA somehow, of course, finds this information that the anthropologists are giving kind of valuable. But as an anthropologist here, I think she does a good job at, it's hard because she figured out that the people are just imagining this stuff. But she can't really say that. She can't just say,
and she probably believes that there is a Mars that they can go to one day or something. I mean, that's where the disconnect is. A lot of these people just have never considered the idea. Well, what if it's all fabricated? Which is what a lot of us think, that these things are just not true.
But she shows how it's fabricated. She shows how it's all constructed and how it's all imagined. Like she's saying, it's a science fiction narrative. Right. She's giving us the elements. She's showing us that they are going back to the habitat and they're infused in science fiction. That's what they want. That's the future they imagine. And they would do anything to get there, to the point of living in the desert in this fake habitat, pretending they're actually finding out about Mars, even though they are on the Earth, which is the ultimate kind of contradiction, which is part of all these other things.
And she
which
actually
we
says
see
we're looking at the history of the future.
Yeah, and also we have a small version of this in the ISS. The idea that you do better research in orbit, moving at 17,500 miles an hour, right? Or it's as Bob pointed out the other day too, that if there is an acceleration of gravity, of course, there's the idea of terminal velocity. But what about the ISS with no friction? Shouldn't it be continuously accelerating? Why does it stop? Why does it have if gravity, if it is in free fall, as they say, right?
Yeah, I don't think that people would just sit around and float right there in front of your eyes if you're going around the Earth. I don't think that's the way it would even work. Glaucoma said, the windows are covered. Why not leave them open? Oh, well, I mean, I've asked this question too many times, and these are a lot of things that have made me have my beliefs the way that they are. But you never see them take the camera over to the window at night. Which, just think of how great that would be to see all the stars and all their glory. Right. It should be very bright. But when you have the problem being that you don't know whether or not you can see stars in space because you've had astronauts say before, both. So they can't show you that because one would negate the other. If all of a sudden you were able to walk to the window and see all these bright lights and see all these stars, then everything that Neil Armstrong said and Buzz Aldrin said gets called into question because they say you can't see stars in cislunar space, the area between the moon and the Earth. So they're stuck. And this is all you need to recognize is that if they were really just orbiting the Earth, they could constantly at any time just grab the camera and mosey on over to the cupola and mosey on over to a window and just show you outside. But they don't do that. And certainly not at night, because then
and they don't move around all the time. Like you have those boring the camera is just standing in a single place, like we just saw.
Correct.
Right. She doesn't switch to her view or her camera only when it's post-produced and when it's in the swimming pool or
right when there's post-production or when you're going to show some sort of a time lapse of the lights on Earth or something. But they'll never show that in real time.
And I still want to see video of stars above 100,000 feet. Now, I know Dwayne Kellum got stars up at around 90,000 feet, but just like that other video, it seems like they're starting to fade up there.
Right.
But, I don't think stars are visible above, maybe 100, 200,000 feet. Right. I'd bet the farm that they're not, but that's what I'd really like to see.
Right. And then
sometimes those videos of rockets don't show any stars. They show the moon and the sun, but then I think it's only Dwayne Kellum that has shown stars in a balloon, high altitude balloon, right? Is that correct, or is anybody else that has done that?
We saw one. Somebody came across one. Probably what was that, Bob? 2 years ago. But the video was questionable.
20 kilometers.
Yeah, it was a university experiment, I think, and. And then of course Dwayne Kellum, like I said, showed stars at about 90,000 feet.
Right.
But on both of them, you can tell that the intensity, the vibrance of the stars are definitely starting to fade. So, in my opinion, it requires the atmosphere for them to even be visible.
Visible, right?
Completely. In fact, when they recreate these tiny stars in the lab inside the jar, you need a medium. And in this case, they use water. So,
like you've looked at many sounding rockets. Is there any sounding rocket launch that comes out at night?
I didn't see any sounding rocket at night in particular. Maybe there is some of them, but they don't put special camera conditions. They trying to use like a neutral setup or setting in the lens and the aperture of the camera, and trying to, because supposedly they send this rocket not for a visual experiment, but they send this rocket because institutions pay for the payload experiment that occur inside the sounding rocket. And sometimes, of course, they use some outside cameras because maybe the experiment require some outside action, like the sailing experiment.
The one that had
exactly that. But usually because here on Earth we had that kind of setup with the super high buildings that they drop like a elevator. They drop and maybe you achieve like 2 seconds of microgravity, quote unquote. Then you have the planes to do that, but still you have you never achieve this supposedly 6 minutes of microgravity. In the plane, on continuous free fall, you only achieve like 50 seconds, 1 minute and 20 seconds, things like that. So supposedly some experiments require more of these free fall conditions to get this situation about the floating,
Yeah, in that condition inside the superfluid that has no viscosity, what happens to the sail? It just doesn't capture anything, right? It just floats.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Probably
because
not.
the experiment is not aiming that condition.
Right.
But when we do see balloons come down, that the parachute doesn't seem to open. So at least it shows that there is no resistance or wind or air to cause the parachute to open. At least for the first, from maybe 120 down to 80,000 or so, is what we see.
It just drops, and then it starts catching.
Something else. Oh, I'm not sharing with you guys, am I?
No.
Let me share screen just so you can see what I'm
doing.
And okay, so you see it now. We're good.
Yep.
He's out in space.
Somebody sent me this about, and this is the only thing about this is it's from Sweden, I think. So I had to translate it to English, which but this right here is a Black Friday space travel deal that you can buy for. This is the equivalent of $250,000 US. But you can buy a great trip to the end of the world. You can travel to space, flights to and from the United States. You get 5 nights at a luxury hotel, 3 days of astronaut training, an unforgettable experience, and lifelong bragging points or bragging.
But when you go out space,
yeah, you'll never. This is the whole point. I mean, they'll tell you when you'll take off. I don't know when. It doesn't say. It says here too, a little knock on flat earthers, of course. Takeoff. When the rocket reaches an altitude of about 70,000 to 80,000 feet, the sky will begin to darken. You have now left our planet. Once at the target of 350,000 feet, you will feel the carbon black space, and below you is the curved curve of Earth. it's translated. So the trip can be perceived as offensive to flat earthers. They had to put that in there.
Brother.
For several minutes, you'll have the opportunity to enjoy the view of our beautiful planet in stark contrast to the overwhelmingly gigantic black universe. Then the journey begins again to the Earth. But again, this is what I just call reverse bungee jumping. It's the same thing. When you bungee jump, you jump from high, you get to the peak of the, I guess the lowest point, and then you bounce back up. It's kind of the same thing. You're just throwing people as high as you can into the sky and letting them come back down.
But maybe if they send politicians, they change their mind, the Grace Tyson.
Right.
The Grace Tyson saying.
Yeah, and isn't it amazing that also 350,000 feet is none other than 66 miles up?
Wow.
Again, there's that barrier again.
Right.
I don't think they can go any higher than that. And I have a feeling that, that we may actually see some of these journeys going up to 66 miles. I think it may even be possible. But they're not going to go any higher than that.
No, and it's just like we said, right? It's just throwing them up there and then letting them float back down. You'll have to have some sort. It's just like the Richard Branson craft that has some sort of wings that you get way up high and then you kind of float down on these wings. That's all it is. And then, of course, you're going to have curved windows. You're going to have everybody wearing helmets. And, of course, we've already seen, I've shown many times, videos showing astronauts putting a helmet on. And from behind the view of the helmet, you can clearly see that anything being seen through the helmet is curved. Everything. It's just the way the glass works. It's so I don't disagree with you, Bob. I do think that we might see some of this stuff. I don't think it'll come from this company. This basically redirects you to this site, which is godream.se.
Yeah, keep dreaming.
Yeah, keep dreaming. Exactly.
Keep dreaming, exactly.
Spaced out in space.
Yeah, so this is $250,000 US, and then it says, if the idea of flying up and greeting an ET is not exactly your cup of tea, we have plenty of other exciting experiences. So you can go on a helicopter for $900 and a balloon flight and indoor skydiving. But one of the things that they will do, they say, is let you space out in space. The other thing I thought was amazing, and I haven't talked about this yet, but when my mom passed and we were at the funeral home looking through their brochures and everything that they have to offer people once their loved ones pass, one of the things that was on the sheet was send your loved ones' ashes to space for orbits or send your loved ones' ashes to the moon. And I was like, unbelievable. And of course I had to ask about it. I was like, wait a second, you can send the ashes to the moon? How does that work? He's like, oh, it's just something we just added, but it's all done by another company. We pay them and they send the ashes to the moon. And then as far as the orbit, I guess that is supposedly SpaceX that does that.
Yeah, I believe you.
They drop them in a dumpster behind the factory.
Right.
What they do.
Oh, man. I said
unbelievable.
So right now, we're here to tell you that the Friday Lounge team will also take ashes to the moon. Just send us $4,995 to my, I guess I can't do PayPal. Send it on Venmo, and we will take those ashes to the moon for you.
That's right.
And we'll give you. We'll even give you a plaque telling you that we did so and what date it was done. So very exciting. If anybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Not me. So yeah, we had that one. What else? You saw that Greta Thunberg was named the Person of the Year?
Oh, I saw that.
Oh man, what is going on when just?
Well, you see the reply from Putin?
No, but I saw the reply from Trump. But what did Putin say?
Putin said very clearly, and I don't trust that guy. I don't trust any New World Order politician. But the guy gives like in the conference give like a 3-4 minutes in talking about that that this girl is completely nonsense, and he hate when adults use child to bring the message, and he starts talking about somebody explained to this girl what happened in Africa, and how there is a lot of country that they want to have a first class life. And somebody explained that to this girl, that we have a lot of poor people all around the world, and things is not going to change because you pay more for produce CO2. And well, he explained very much well than me, but it was something that caught my attention because I never think that this guy is going to, say something that is true, in terms of this condition.
But I totally agree with the title here is basically it's a symptom of the sick and confused world when adults make children their leaders, because by doing that you make it so that they can't be attacked, right? You just put this child up on this pedestal and you tell everybody, look at this child knows everything, and then you've got a bunch of people that feel bad about attacking that individual because they're a child. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I really can't say anything about it. That's why it's great to do what we do, because at least we're able to say, this is a joke. I mean, why are we looking to children, for your answers? How dare you? How dare you? So I thought that was interesting. What did you send, Bob? Did you send
wasn't who's the person of the year in 1930? Wasn't that Hitler?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, there you have it. There you have it. Well, I don't know. This is just, you see, the whole world is like that in the kind of controlled mainstream kind of mentality, where you see that people fall for these things. They get their heartstrings pulled very easily by the establishment. That's what we see with her. And like Ido was saying, even Putin is pointing out
I sent it the Putin video is about 2 minutes with English subtitle. So maybe if you want to put in the background.
Is that live, Jaron? The ISS viewing? I thought they canceled that.
No, I was looking at an older one here. I think this is old, but I was just looking.
It's always changing cameras or something.
Yeah, it just goes in and out. And then the other day I was trying to see, first of all, okay, I could see when they say, oh, you wouldn't be able to see stars out here because this big bright blueness is here. So, really you should be able to pick them up when it gets dark. But every time I go to find it get dark, I'll show you how it does it, and it's so hilarious. This is the version. This is when it gets dark. Look how it moves like this. That's supposed to be like the Terminator line. It's so sad.
Wow.
And then there's that, and of course you see no lights on Earth. You never see that. This is supposedly a live stream or whatever. It's not from right now, but and then it just comes back. It just pops
just appears. Point.
Right. They'll always have this little thing in here. It says the video from the space station external high definition camera has been interrupted due to either loss of signal between the station and the communications network, or it is being used for station operational purposes. The EHDC is currently being used to provide a view of Earth following the end of life. As Bob said, the F is not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be end of lie of the HDEV payload. And then it just comes back. And, of course, it's always this. And if people want to believe this, what are you going to do? I mean,
they look at this and then see that it's turning night. They don't see anything. And then compared to those more recent ones with the atmospheric layer and stars in the sky. And the most ridiculous one, which is the one that shows the star trails around the North Star from the ISS in a time lapse.
Right. Yeah, that's so bad.
If people see that and they believe that, then there's no hope really for
humanity.
Because
no,
because that's just all. I mean, that is just absolutely impossible, and yet it's out there. In terms of, it's right.
I don't know what this is supposed to be. This is supposed to be the Terminator line is overtaking. It just is so bad, and it's just you never see any light. Of course, people might see these are just broken pixels. I've been told. Nothing more than that, but here, if there was any land here, you would be able to see all these lights. Think of the pictures that they've taken from space. That supposedly you see all these, and again, all you have to do is
storms and stuff and lightning,
right?
Everything.
So did you guys catch the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket launch this week?
Yeah.
Oh, the balloon.
It's the same as always.
It looks
that
so
was
bad.
so bad. Oh my God. I just couldn't believe it. I was sitting there and I played it over and over and over again. And the thing, of course, that I found interesting is once again, where was their apex? 66 miles. You know, it's like just that magic mark keeps coming up. 100 kilometers, 66 miles. It's right in that zone where Sprite's thing. I mean, there is, in my opinion, some sort of a hard barrier there. There has to be.
Hey, Iru, have you ever looked into this image? I've had a few people reach out to me, and I think I've done it before, but I haven't done it in a while. I'm just noticing it again. That this picture, which is the blue marble, supposedly, of course, from 1972, but this picture is impossible because if this is fully illuminated like it's showing, and so you would have to say that the sun should be straight behind me, correct? That there's places north of here that have to be receiving sunlight. For instance, if this would be about 11 a.m. for Madagascar, correct?
Yeah, I saw that video.
Right. So I mean, if this is 11 a.m. for Madagascar, then it has to be 11 a.m. for people on the same line. But there's so many people up here in Europe and north of that that should be getting sun.
Yeah, that'll be what St. Petersburg. No, not even. That's in Middle East and Persia, or whatever. No.
Yeah, or even over up here would be Russia and right. But they would be in daylight. So how could they be in daylight if this side of the globe is illuminated? This is their 1972 blue marble picture. I thought that was always interesting.
but also the cloud is like has no depth. You don't gonna have that white, super soft white. It's not has any detail. The shadow of the cloud on the ground, the size of the shadow of the cloud. I mean, for me, it's something that when you start to compare it with reality, it's something that something's wrong. I mean.
And people just don't recognize it when you're looking at things like this, that it's a fabrication and it's no different than this, which is just cartoon. None of these are real.
That one's funny. The one that showed Italy looks, the one that you just showed that had Italy.
This one?
Like, isn't that supposed to be Sicily?
Yeah, you have Italy, Sicilia, and you have.
But there's too many lights. It just looks wrong. In the Sicily, it looks like they're fake lights. It doesn't even look like it's from an airplane or something. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these lights are just literally painted into it instead of actually.
You have a map to put when you downloaded the files that NASA and other agencies give to you to model your own. There you have it. Yeah, you have cloud maps. You have the ground map. You have the lights in the night.
Just paste it in the ball
they give you all the alpha maps, opacity maps, BAM maps, displacement map, diffuse map, specular maps, everything to play with the ball.
Right.
Anything you want to do.
Anything. And
so then you just create your ball object in the 3D program and start pumping in these things, these layers, and boom.
You have also animate cloud formations to put on top. So if you want to make the clouds move.
With the kind of noise things that you can create as well, right?
Yeah. Can I show the screen one more time?
Yep.
So, just for finish the topic from the sun size. But what I'm trying to say is, for example, when you have a concave mirror, and we are inside the atmosphere, and for our point of view, the atmosphere is like a concave.
Wait, are you sharing?
Lens. Yes, I'm sharing.
I see it.
Sorry, I wasn't clicked on it. All right, go ahead.
Okay. This mirror is not a flat mirror, okay? It's like a little concave mirror. So if you take this object that you put inside of your head, you are like inside the atmosphere, right? So look what happened. When this guy approached the mirror, the image is going to be more,
big.
Forget the distortion. It's going to be more size 1:1.
Okay.
Okay? But when the guy take out the hand is going to get bigger instead of being smaller at the distance. And let's go. Well, you have all the focal length measurements to reach the best point, to be on focus. But look what happened to the face. It's gonna get bigger. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the object is getting away from the focal point. So what I mean is that.
Is there also an inversion in the back? Things are upside down, way back in the distance, Ido?
It's gonna.
It's kind of what happens with
that
the
is
spoon.
why.
Yeah.
That is why the guy put the ruler to say, okay, until this point you're gonna have a bigger image when I go away, but at a certain point the image is going to invert, and now you have the inversion image, and get and respect the size based on distance. So what I'm trying to say is that when you make zoom on the camera, you are your fix of focal length is stopped there, and you have a static object and a moving object with this lens in between, just in a tiny time segment of time. So for example, there is a well-known the dolly effects that you can use in the movies to recreate, like when an object move to a static object, or you can do the inverse. So you're never gonna change size because you have this kind of compensation between the movement, the distance, and the focal length, and where you are aiming for. So the majority of the time when these guys make this observation for trying to reach the size, the change in the size of the sun, the sky is black. The only object you have is just the sun, because they're using the H filter. So you don't have any reference to compare, nothing. And you have all these conditions that you need to take into consideration. That is what I'm talking about. That is why sometimes you can see the suns change and you can measure in pixels, but when the cameras are really way off, not way off, way back
Zoomed
in terms
in.
of the zoom, zoom in, or zoom out.
Zoom
I
out,
believe it's
out.
zoom
Okay.
out. But when you are zoom in and you reach the maximum amount of your zoom, you are only looking at the really tiny segment in terms of time and space. And you have all these conditions, and you have all this atmosphere in between, and you have this kind of convex, concave mirror effect. So you need to have that in mind. You're never going to see that change inside in that conditions. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying about it.
Yeah, I guess once you start zooming, then all those effects will start happening.
Yes.
And,
yes.
That's why
but
you.
if you leave, but if you leave your zoom, at the minimum
in
level, you're gonna
okay.
see how the suns change size.
Yeah.
Because perspective.
Right.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So.
But with the zoom, you have a big difference because of the way the lenses work, and because of that particular effect that you just showed, because of the concave nature of it, and so on.
Yes,
right?
and all the properties that you have. Yeah. This is my point of view, and I saw a few videos that with the zoom is changing size, but you can measure only in pixel. Maybe the people pretend that the sun shrinks size until a tiny point. And that is not how light behave into an atmospheric propagation.
Right.
And, that is the way that nature do things, We must be send an email to nature and say, hey, what's going on here?
What's happening?
What's happening here, man? Just that I'm stop sharing. But I don't want to, leave open the topic, and just that.
Okay, thank you. Got it. So I don't know. I didn't have much else, and we could go through. I have all those articles ready to go through. different articles that were written. I think I saw one today that Cammie put in the chat. Is that the one that you saw, Rodrigo?
Yeah.
A PBS article, right?
Pretty bad.
Yeah, it was an old article, but it's still just funny.
Is it old? Because I actually saw it as a Google alert today or yesterday, I thought.
Oh, really? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one. I'm sorry. Cammie sends me so many articles, I can't keep track of them all.
I know that's the way it always goes.
Like a compulsion state of sending articles. Yeah.
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 It's a Christmas even.
So there is still this live channel, Bob, and then as far as when it's supposedly live, but you don't know what it's showing. Purple.
You are presenting us the.
Oh no. Too bad you couldn't set it to like reshare after Ira was done or something.
I know.
That'd be great, wouldn't it, Bob?
Yeah.
So this is
Would be
supposedly
nice.
live. This is not the HD stream. I don't know what this is with the bars, or you just get nothing. I mean, it should be. I can't think of a bigger slap in the face to people that are funding this space travel nonsense. Speaking of that, we got a super chat from Paraplegic Bear, who said every time an astronaut says something, Baronism says, "Oh boy, it's effing hilarious. Oh boy, what a load of crap. Oh boy." Oh yeah, I just hate liars. I mean, it's just, you can tell when you're being fed lines of bullshit, and of course, it's even worse when those lines of bullshit are directed at children. That's what they try and do.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just impossible to get anything decent on this, and it should be should be seen as a slap in the face that they're getting nearly $60 million a day, and the one thing that you think that you would get, the one thing is okay, they're out there flying around in space, they've got all these satellites, they're doing all these stuff. Give us a picture of where we live. Give us a video. Give us a real-time video, real-time 24-hour feed, 24/7. And of course, they lie to people and tell them that they do have a 24/7 feed. But as you can see from this, that no matter where you go, all you get is blue screen. So it's not 24/7.
No, I think they're referring to the Himawari, which, of course, is even a bigger joke.
Oh, boy, yeah, that is so bad. And then you can click other channels, and this is the one that they used to have.
Yeah, but it is not
HD.
still live,
No.
Himawari.
No,
You still process image on top of a pre-modeled.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And this is the one that used to be the HDEV experiment, but now you can just see it's the same sidewall picture on all these. And it just goes in and out. You get this screen here, which I'm showing, and then again, like I said, when you watch the this feed here and you try and watch it exit out of there, all you get is that, I guess, what's supposed to be the Terminator line. I just can't believe you wouldn't like this. I mean, it's just, this is what you get.
It's so rare that they show any landscape features as well. It's always over the ocean somehow. But then what is amazing as well is that ISS is able to capture photographs of all these natural and or not natural disasters as they happen and go over them. They had a picture of even the Notre Dame Cathedral burned. I think it was a French astronaut took a photo of the Notre Dame Cathedral burning. They had burning the fires in Brazil, that they took a photo of that. There's another disaster also that they took the photos of. The hurricanes, they're always on top of the hurricanes whenever they need to be, So they're everywhere and nowhere at the same time, because here they're nowhere. And then whenever they need to be on top of Notre Dame in Paris, then they are.
But 9/11, they filmed from the space, the towers,
Oh yeah.
And if that was possible, imagine
smoke column.
Imagine how easy it would be to see the lights of New York from the space station. It should be simple. Again, I've showed before that you can walk out with your iPhone camera and pick up the light from the ISS in an otherwise black sky. So why wouldn't you be able to pick up a football field from the ISS looking down? I mean, you should be able to see football fields moving through and city lights and everything. They just don't show you. And
The gravity draws all the light down.
Oh, it is.
That's why.
God bless it.
That's why.
Iru, I don't think
gravitational lensing.
Iru, how easy is this to fake?
Well, not to fake, to recreate. It's and I show you a lot of times, and for me, it's let me just paste here on the chat I paste it on the chat, and maybe we can buy it and play, play a little bit with that. I can buy because it's like $400, but I mean, there you have it. It's super easy, super high quality, with all the light conditions pre-set up, already set up there, with real world scaling.
You mean the model you can get that already
in the chat?
Right?
Yeah, it's in the chat comment.
Right. But that looks better than what NASA is doing, right? When you do it with that one.
Yeah, because this is rendering in the with maybe the anti-aliasing filter is 8x8, so you're gonna have this super sharp and really crispy image.
Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to show you? You sent me.
I waiting from Jeran to.
Are you gonna share?
No, I sent to you.
I'm looking at it. It's amazing. Yeah, it's in the chat, Turn.
Oh, sorry.
It's amazing. Because this is so much better than what NASA does.
Yeah, but NASA.
Why don't they use this? It's $400
because NASA use a visual language. They are not idiot, So what they do is they go low quality on purpose because they're trying to say, well, man. This is real. This is not sci-fi movies.
I think the visual language that NASA is using is called Braille.
Yeah, I know that, Bob, but you know how it is. No, but have in mind a lot of things here. First of all, you have the, for example, it's better always. It doesn't matter what you are trying to recreate. Always it's better if you use real picture and real videos. So that is why they make this grid scanning with planes, like I showed a lot of time before, like Bexel camera, things like that. So they create a huge mosaic, so then you map it on the sphere, and you just rotate the sphere until you need to switch cameras. Simple as that. So you don't need to recreate like the complete world mosaic. No, you just recreate just a tiny part. Then on top of that, you can have simulated clouds from the reality to give more believable appearance. But that you're gonna start to have problem to recreate in the future maybe. So it's better to leave static clouds, static ground. Don't trying to recreate reality, because maybe you can do once, two. But if you need to keep that every day, every single day,
right,
like trying to mimic live events, it's not in any artificial intelligence in our days to recreate that. So because it's not only NASA, then it must be recreated by Chinese, by the European Space Agency, the other countries. You're gonna trying to say, okay, what happened with the satellites that there are. Observation satellite, why the observation satellite show us different things. So you're going to start, get really crazy. So
and people
they go
in
at low level
I
as
think
possible.
This is real. They think this, this is no different than what we were just looking at here. Rewind it a little bit, here.
Right. No.
And you just
No,
have
the
this
only-
rotating.
you know
this
the only
piece, though.
difference?
Where do I get this
The
piece,
only
though? How much
difference-
is this going to cost me, this little side piece here,
Right.
so that I can put it on top of...
Nothing, because you already have it.
Oh, that's good. Oh, good.
That is for free for you
So
if
then
you are
I can,
NASA.
I could put a little white
And I
piece
showed
there.
that the last show in Globbuster.
Have
I
you
mean,
seen-
you have these robotic arms holding up the satellite for taking picture.
But look, I can
and
see
the only
this, I can see lights on Florida, so it must be real.
Yeah.
Have you
And
seen-
no,
have
the
you
only
Have you seen the Indian photographs, kind of like that, the one that you're showing, but the Indian Space Agency, if you just look it up, they have their Earth photographs. It looks hilarious. It's like from their supposed satellites, because they also have a video, which is that guy that came after Flat Earth, is some guy with a beard. I think Bob had the discussion with him, if I'm not mistaken. He came after me as well. He went after a bunch of people, claiming that he released 100 satellites for India in space and so on. And then he shows a video of the 100 satellites coming off, and you're like, oh my goodness, he's saying this is real, and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, they like mothership giving birth.
Right.
Like an alien mothership giving birth,
Yeah, just plopping out a bunch of these things.
This is ideal to identical to the JAXA,
Exactly.
video of going across the moon, going over the moon.
And I show that, and we compare. Let me just
Well,
share
now,
my
this is
screen
an
a little bit.
Earthrise view. I mean, people would see this as long as it came from NASA. They would say this is real. But when the same thing comes from Turbo Squid, I don't know what they say. I mean, it's the same thing.
I'm sharing my screen. I don't know
Okay,
if
go ahead.
you can.
I'm gonna pop over.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sharing right now.
Yes, now you are. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, the only difference, I took this image here, I said copy, and paste it here quickly in Photoshop. So I rotate it, and, maybe I just going to compensate the black portion of, let me make it really quickly, because I want to show you the difference between, this, imagine this, and I just going to crop this part here. So the only difference that they do is like they use this visual language to blur the image a little bit. So it's like more realistic because you blur it, not so much.
Far
but
away, that's
something.
why. Yeah, so far.
Yeah, something
Better
like
be
that, something like that. So if I show you this, more blurry,
right.
you're gonna say, oh no, now it's real because the camera is not full HD 4K. But it's just simple as that. If you're trying to contrast, you're gonna have more balance in the color. You can make it more black or more bluish, and you maybe highlight the whites on purpose to has this blooming effect, so you don't give more detail. And you can say, no, well, the camera wasn't compensated because the aperture of the lens. But and then you make ooh. So I mean, it's too easy. When you have the maps from reality, you clear. I have a lot here. For example, I never even open, but all these zip files here are Jupiter project, Mars project, Earth project, because in our days we have so many quantities of textures, and this is how you receive like the diffuse map, okay, then you receive the normal bump map. This is a process to have this fine detail, high stuff, right? Yeah, exactly. And then you have the this is the specular. So this tell the 3D software which are the terrains that is going to reflect light,
right,
and which not part. So you can the white part is because it's the ocean, so that is why it's going to reflect. Then you have the outer space background, of course, and then you have the light map.
Right.
Pretty super detail, and then you change the color from white because this is just a black and white map, but you can transfer this into whatever color you want. You can dim some light and hire another one. You can play and do whatever you want. And then you have the ocean mask for the rivers, inside of the earth. And then you have, I believe that was the last one. And then you have the cloud maps, and you can download it an animated cloud map. So when you have all these, you just plug all these square maps into a 3D model, and then you can add on top. Well, this is the purpose of this is making like a Hollywood movie. That is why you are looking at this artistic way. But then you can do whatever you want in terms of if you want to give more realistic view, you just blur it a little bit, you desaturate the colors, you can add some scratches and bring some. But for me, in this case, it's much better if you and I showed this a lot of times. Let me just bring it back again, because for me it's more if I receive like a job for fake humanity, in our days, I gonna propose the idea to film real things and map real things. So when you do that, you have it's more easily and much easily, because you don't need to trying to get super professional high quality map. You just simple film and let me go, especially because I have around here, I believe was blah blah blah. Is this one? Maybe at the end of this video. No. Give me 1 second, okay?
No problemo.
No, because I have it here in some part of the presentation where I talk about 3D software and the uncanny valley of CGI techniques and things like that. I trying to remember. Let me see. For example, this is a real picture, a real video from a high altitude sounding rocket. So let me just see. Give me one more opportunity, okay?
I'll give you
to find
however many more you want.
Okay, no, because it's better when you illustrate
a point.
Yeah, it's much better to understand. Maybe I have it here in this PowerPoint file. Let me go very quick. Well, this is a Mickey Mouse inside of the. I believe I have here. It's some of this video. I remember that. Let me see where the video is. Not this one, but but this is like the live television, when you need to
very good.
keep talking, you need to keep talking. We still live. No, I have it here. But it's in other part. It's not about
can you hear me,
landing
guys?
to fake moon landing. It's about faking ISS.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, we hear you, Rodrigo. Remind me to give you a key for your Microsoft Office.
Okay.
I've noticed it's not activated. I can make that happen for you.
Wow, man. You are like a Russian cracker guy.
I am, man. I'm just a Russian cracker guy.
What were you trying to say,
because
Rodrigo?
all the cracks here in Latin America came from Russia, so.
Rodrigo, go ahead and say something. We couldn't hear you very well. It sounded like your microphone switched or something.
I find it.
No, Rodrigo.
No, it's just I'm listening. I just moved around the house, so I switched to my phone for a second. I'll be back in the other living room. So I just
sounds like you went to the bathroom. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm in the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is a 3D project with some kind of volumetric lighting and some Hollywood style. Mm-hmm. But well, I taken outside, put some clouds on it and make the camera like a little dirt, trying to add elements from reality that supposedly. But here, this image, it's much better to just film with a 90 degrees angle from a plane passing by. And then you just take that and rotate it, zoom in, crop it, add the atmospheric lensing, and blah, 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 and there you have it.
Boom.
You don't need to go 3D because it's much better to do that process.
Right.
That is why
there's no way anybody's going to be able to
real
say,
live event.
Right, and there's no way anybody's going to be able to show, or we've already showed it. I mean, as far as any proof, I'm never going to be able to show a globe or see how the clouds didn't match my sky. They're just not going to listen. So, as long as you have some cloud data, it's pretty close. Maybe you just change it per day. It doesn't even need to be in real time. And I'm sure even if they wanted to do it in real time, that's possible. They have the computers to do that. I don't, but they do.
Yeah, but it's very easy. I mean, for the technician in visual effects, in fact, if you are not leading with real life event, it's super easy.
Right.
The problem is that when you need to go live in the exact moment that this massive event is happening. That is a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Now they have started to do like parallax, in these things. I think David pointed that out, that they have some updated versions of this swindle.
Yeah,
It's very easy. Yeah,
you need to go back in time all the time. You need to go back in time and compare.
Hero and I
why they show
preach this all the time. So what we talk about is you have to go back in time. You have to see the progression. That's what you have to watch, because it goes exactly in line with technology and exactly in line with what you'd expect.
Exactly. If not, you don't have any comparison.
Right.
It's impossible.
It's like what was possible at the time.
Exactly.
And it's never just keeping up with what cameras were capable of. It's what the technology was capable of. What could you do in real time? What could you do post-production? What could you do and pass it off as real? And it wasn't until obviously 20 years ago that they got to a place where they said, okay, we can at least show this turning ball for 45 minutes out of 90 because it's in such bad form that nobody could ever determine from just great, we can look at it and say that looks fake, and we all do. But as far as like proving it, well, no, it's their word against ours. It's not like we can show a specific cloud above my head where I live and say, oh, this cloud right here is right above my head, but it's not on the screen. Nobody's going to hear that as any kind of evidence because it looks real, just like the stuff Hero shows looks real.
And just a thought on the progression, which is very important to look at the history of it. They still show that stop motion animation with the helmet turning in these mainstream shows about about space. Yeah. They still show those. Those are the first generation animations with the feet that don't move. And that should be enough to compare and contrast.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just looking at some of these projects that I mentioned before, that I have so many projects in terms of space, because right now it's the hot topic in terms of free project, and all the guys doing crazy things. All the things is based on space and astronaut. I have hundreds of files with planets and astronauts, and how to do Star Trek, how to do everything in CGI. That is crazy. I have a full library of just space projects, and you go from super realistic planet, super realistic astronaut, to just things like for motion graphics.
Did you ever come across that there was a video game that was supposed to be a big deal and flopped? It was like this free roaming universe, and the players were promised that they would fly these ships to unknown planets all around the galaxy, and you can get into the planet and find the animals and name the new animals. Do you remember this, Jaron?
Yeah, I remember something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like them developing this kind of terraforming, how the planet's looking from outside with the ships flying around, the whole kind of shebang to trap the people's imaginations, right? But that didn't deliver what people wanted. They wanted, it was all kind of fake discoveries. They wanted some multiplayer universe that they created together. It's pretty... And we've seen this, there's even anthropology and sociology on this, on people online, still going on, there's these like second life, things like that.
Yeah,
people that want to live outside of reality. So it's...
Yeah, I always compare, for example, the movement from the ISS with the real thing. This is a high altitude balloon when you can see all the clouds, not just morphing, but also creating from nothing. From the conditions of the temperature in the air. But here, new clouds appear, and others disappear, and changing form and moving. And this is just a time lapse about 3-4 hours.
Right.
And sometimes, for having the same kind of or the same amount of movement in the ISS, they told you that this is 6-hour time lapse for the robotic arms pick up a satellite and put in, and you don't see nothing. You just see like a straight path, because this is not rotating. This is like a translation movement.
Yeah, it's going across, not in orbit.
Exactly, it's a cross mapping on the sphere, and you see this cloud here, like 30 minutes later is the same cloud, and that doesn't happen in real life. It's like impossible. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy when you start thinking about it. And this is the kind of cloud maps that you can map on top of all the other layer and put inside of a spherical model. And then and NASA told you this. I mean, this is not even something hidden or things like that. No, this is, you can download it from this supercomputer that NASA has, this power computer, and they create all the things that they need to give to you, and you play with these things. It's not difficult.
Yeah, big connection. Neil deGrasse Tyson, in his piece that he published, the one paper he has published for the Council of Foreign Relations, the one thing he mentions that space has given us, among all those wonderful technologies, is imaging, digital imaging.
Well, that's digital predictions. This is from NASA. This is from NASA officially, and
Neil also says he filmed 9/11 from his own video camera, but has never released that to anybody.
With planes.
Yep.
He has one of those EMP-proof cameras then, I guess, huh?
Right, yeah, his didn't go out. But he's got that article on his website, and I've challenged before, like, let me see the video footage. He says he's got video footage from right outside his house of the second plane hitting and the buildings falling and everything else. I've never seen any of that, but...
but nobody see that.
No. And I love the video, too, where Neil deGrasse says that, we know we went to the moon because it's... easier to go to the moon than it is to fake it. You've heard that one?
Yeah. What a bunch of nonsense.
Have you seen the UAP video, the recent UAP video, which is essentially a lecture? And this guy that comes in, he makes that point. He tries to make that point, and it just borders on the absurd and comical. He seems like he didn't really, his development was like arrested at some point. He seems like kind of grown-up child kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
crazy.
You seen that, Bob?
Yeah, and obviously, Kubrick knew that it was much easier to go to the moon than it was for him to make 2001: A Space Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
It's such a bad argument too. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's pathetic.
No, and it's like, okay, if that's true, because Neil says that, the right amount of fuel was loaded into the Saturn V, so it had to go somewhere. Well, the same amount of fuel technically would get you to Neptune, right? I mean, you're not going to need much more fuel.
Right.
So, the equivalent could be said. Well, then couldn't that Saturn rocket have gone to Neptune with people on it? And what's his excuse going to be? Oh, well...
It's also kind of funny how they don't need any fuel, not much fuel to zoom back from the moon, right? Somehow, they just do it with a paper freaking tent. And this guy, that was the part that was kind of funny. He's like, look, there's all these engineers there. How they could be faking it? And he's showing the lunar lander. And he's like, yeah, and look at how much engineering goes into this. It has to be very light. It has to be very strong. Right. Look at some aluminum foil with hangers.
And it's just, when you're in the profession he's in and you've gotten this far, then, the only possibility for your mind to even wrap around is that we did go to the moon. So everything you're going to weigh against, and that it's possible to go to the moon because you already believe that we went there. So It's very difficult, when we can look at that and say, well, what are you talking about? It's not easier to fake going to the moon than it is to go to the moon if it's impossible to go to the moon. Then it's infinitely more possible that you fake it than you go. So, but we're able to look at it from that perspective. He's not. That's the difference.
Yeah, but we also uncovered how they faked it in detail. I mean, it was we were looking at it last week so many times, of course.
Yeah, people need to go back and watch that. That's episode 4. Iru did a great job of just showing all the ways, and you could just look at all the mechanical movements of the different devices, and it just becomes painful at that point. But
it's funny that you get this. It sees to be a phenomenon that I'm seeing because when I saw the guy attacking flat earthers, the Argentinian guy that Iru showed today, you get the same kind of thing where they're so green, it seems. Like they barely know they're stepping into this somehow because they can't contain the storm that's coming.
Of course, because astrophysicists, I mean, their knowledge starts way after all this stuff talking about flat Earth. So they've never even looked into anything before. It's I've talked about it before, but it's when Joe Rogan asked Neil deGrasse, what's the curvature formula? And he said, what do you mean, the gravity drop? And he says, no, what's the curvature formula for the Earth? Neil deGrasse has no idea because they're not teaching that to astrophysicists. That's, they're beyond that.
Yeah, and it's exactly what Wakey caught as well, right?
Same exact thing.
It slowly caught her in so many different points.
Yeah, totally.
That one.
Totally agree.
This is the series that this guy is the director of the astrophysics university here in my city. He knows me, of course. He pronounced against me a few times. He never wants to came to a radio station and just talk live and give our argument. And he created this first chapter. You can see our rocket behind it.
It's really annoying. It has some bad music on it all over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the fraud of the flat Earth, the fraud of the flat Earth. Yeah. And right now, of course, is all the comments. It's from flat earther.
Good.
He must be getting crazy. I mean, because in that first chapter, he talks about that, and he make on purpose, at least for me, because he talks about that we are from the flat Earth society, that we believe the gravity is because the Earth is ascending, and the constant speed.
Of course.
All the things that we know, this guy know because all the interviews that I'm participating.
You say that
right now. It's more than 100. I start saying we are not belong to the Flat Earth Society from England. Mm-hmm. all my interviews. So he knows that.
Right.
He says that in his thing, but he says what he does is that he says, oh, look, a lot of flat earthers are against the Flat Earth Society. So that means that they're in confusion against each other. And this is the chaos that this causes because there's so much confusion. They don't agree with one another. Therefore, science, everybody agrees in astronomy.
Yeah, of course, man. Every astronomer agrees.
They're just smart enough not to talk, or put each other down about it. They just leave it open. They don't want to make it seem like there's any question in that, even though they all have different opinions of the origin of the universe and dark matter and everything else. They all don't have a clue.
Yeah. No, these guys talks about we know what is gravity. We know everything. They know everything.
Of course.
Everything. They know everything.
No, I couldn't believe it because he managed to go on for I looked, it was almost 10 minutes. He didn't say anything. He made no point.
No, because it's the first chapter, maybe the introduction chapter. But let me just, because I see, I was showing this, I was showing this kind of video before, which is that they have all the equipment from different Dopplers and all technology that they use to weather prediction. When you have all this map based on ground stations, and then you transfer this to a base, database, and then if you want to, you can download it from the database, mapping on the 3D sphere, and you're gonna have this Himawari, productions.
Right.
But then I remember that, for example, in terms of the sport, and this is completely changing topics, complete sport. Right now there is a new kind of playing games when they use this curve table, and the slogan from this curve table is because the Earth is not flat, now you need to play in curved surface.
Oh God!
What?
That's
yeah.
Stupid. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can maybe if I maybe let me. This is so funny. So funny. They are desperate. They are desperate, man.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Bob, I think Bob needs to get going.
Table.
Bob, you need to head out.
Yeah, I gotta do some things before work tomorrow, so I gotta get some stuff done.
Well, good. We really
not tomorrow,
you.
but for a customer tomorrow. Excuse me.
Well, no, we really appreciate you joining us as always. And do you want to tell people, do you know what's coming up on Sunday? One thing I wanted to ask you to cover a little bit, I don't know if I know you've done it a million times, so to ask you to do it again is ridiculous. But I was watching a little bit of Seventh Day Truth Seeker's video on the gyro compass.
Mm-hmm.
And, I understood most of it, but are you going to talk maybe a little bit about that?
Sure, I can talk about that. You betcha. Yeah. Like I said, FE Core just bought one, so we've been studying it quite intently.
Okay, yeah, that versus what Stefan showed, and kind of I'm a little bit behind the times and a little bit of that, so hopefully we can maybe do that in an upcoming episode. But yeah, so Bob, thank you. You want to tell people what you have coming up, or is it pretty much just Globebusters and...
Yeah, Globebusters, we're going to be covering a little bit more. Some more information has come to light about the rocket balloons, which, to say the least, is hilarious. We'll be highlighting that.
Okay.
And yes, I can definitely cover some more on, Stefan's gyro and, those particular issues. That's kind of a cluster screw, but
exactly.
Yeah, I'll cover that, and we'll get those issues addressed because I know a lot of people have questions about it.
Okay.
But other than that, it'll be a good show on Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Can't wait to join you for that, and I appreciate you joining me on this show as always, Bob. It's been awesome.
All right, sounds good, guys. We will see you on Sunday.
Okay, talk to you soon.
All right,
see you, Bob.
See you later, Bob. Bye.
Yeah, and I need to go also, but I just finished
4
with
hours.
this. I mean,
I don't know how it's 4 hours.
No, that's why I need to go.
It's almost 1 a.m. here.
Oh yeah, you're up late too. So.
But
all right,
this is
close us out with this,
desperate. When you start doing these things, about curving a table for playing ball. I mean,
curved table to play ping pong.
Stupid.
So, ping pong and football ping pong.
Football pong.
Yeah, football pong, which is something that here in Argentina, in Brazil, a lot of people play. So they curve the table. Curve the table.
Oh boy,
it's a crazy thing,
It's too funny.
So it's actually played in a curved table, or they also play this with a normal table?
I've never seen it played before.
No, you play only in the curved table, and you can play with your friends. This game start playing in the regular ping pong table.
Okay.
Yeah, but this year they started to create this concept of curving tables.
Right.
But the first slogan was because the earth is not flat. We
flat.
Play in exactly. I can find it. The first advertising. But they are crazy. I mean, they are just completely crazy, man. No, I can find it. Whatever.
It's just the different ways that people are cashing in the concept.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're
crazy.
We're gonna close down the show. It's been almost 4 hours. Thank you, Iro, for all your sharing, and thank you, Rodrigo.
And that's only for 20. For the Patreon thing.
Yeah, that's good, huh? Yeah. We were on dLive the entire time. I didn't ever take a look to see how many people were there, but hopefully people are enjoying it over there. It's a little bit of a simulcast. The only problem is that last time on Monday we had this show, and it didn't show up in my replays. So I'm hoping this one does. If it doesn't, I'm not sure how you do that. I mean, I'm able to see on other people's channels that they have their three most recent streams are under replays, but for some reason,
yours didn't show up.
No, not the one from Monday. So I'm hoping this one does. If it does, then I'll just consider the last one to be a little bit of an exception. But if it doesn't, then I don't know. Maybe somebody could contact me on Skype if they have any idea why my replays wouldn't show up. Maybe I'll ask Owen, because Owen's replays show up. At least he's got 3, and then I guess once you become a partner, I think it's called, then you have 25 days of replays. Or is that what you've heard?
Something like this, and you become a partner with 200 followers.
Yeah, which I already have more than. Oh no, wait. Oh yeah, I have more than that. I've got 1.2 thousand, so 1,200. Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know how this all works, but we'll figure it out. I think it's good to have a backup just in case, and it'll be nice to be on dLive if we ever need to exit YouTube stage right. So yeah, maybe next week we'll go through some of these articles. I do plan on having, what's next week, the 20th? Yeah, I do plan on having a Friday Lounge next week. Are you guys both in for next week? You're not doing anything that you can't be here?
No, I'm okay. I'll be here.
Okay. Yeah, so I think...
Yeah, me too.
Okay, good. Well, then we'll do a show next week for sure. We have Glowbusters coming up on Sunday, and I'll just we'll get out of here real quickly. But let me let Iru tell people anything he wants to tell you. What's going on this week, or where you can find him, all that stuff. Go ahead.
I am preparing my Spanish interview from this guy, the Andreas Kalker, and finish a few things because in a few days I'm going to be in Spain for giving the conference 25 of January, but I go more early because I'm going to visit my girlfriend. Right. And so everyone is invited. Of course, it's in Spanish, but maybe some of people that are hearing this show is from the Spanish community and live in Europe. So if you want to go there, nurparatodos.com.ar. It's the webpage where you can find the information. If you want to support me in Patreon, patreon.com/nurparatodos, and my new English YouTube channel is called npt.redpill in YouTube. So if you want to subscribe. And as always, I am working not full time, but almost full time in the flat Earth research and trying to spread the word. So thank you for all the support.
Good. And there's all those links are in the description. So please check out Iru's stuff. I haven't put those. I'll put those links in the dLive description, but I haven't done that yet. But if you're on the YouTube video, just scroll down to the description, and we've got links to Iru's Patreon and all that fun stuff. And then follow Iru on dLive in case he ever does something there. And then let's...
Yeah, and sorry, but if you want someday to interview this guy behind the CDS, just tell me and I arrange everything.
Good, that'll sound good. And then go ahead, Rodrigo, and just tell people if you have anything coming up this week.
Well, it's been quite busy. I have my dad's going to come visit at the end of the month. And so I'm preparing for that. There's a bunch of projects I have to apply for my work with music. So I'm doing that, trying to finish some music I have with Alex this week. I already contacted him because it's been a while, and I'm going to finally have a chance finishing an album. It's like, believe it or not, with a pop. It's like it's a really funny thing. When it comes out, you guys get to hear it. And then I'm on dLive as dLive/anthropology. I'm going to do something there soon, hopefully. The next stream, I'm going to follow your lead here and use the same service, restream.io. Right? Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, actually, after we get off the show, I'll call you and walk you through it real quick, because there is one little thing that's a little bit funky, but I'll show you that.
Cool. Awesome. And so that, and also BitChute, I downloaded my entire channel, and I'm going to start re-uploading it and probably cleaning up my YouTube channel I thought about this strategy of getting rid of some videos and reposting them.
It's a good idea. I thought about doing the same thing.
Because I don't really care about the counts, the view counts, and probably these videos have a better chance being re-uploaded, right? Because then they get premiered or whatever, and right. You get to play a little bit of YouTube. And if you have a repository somewhere else, I can try to do that. My channel is small enough that it's worth the experiment. Okay. I don't know. So that's what I have, and then organizing so many notes, so many things that I have from this research. Like I was showing you a little bit of, you got to see some of with the anthropology, right, which is quite interesting. So there's just a lot to talk about. It's just the time and the time of the year and everything kind of slowing down. You want to, I kind of slowed down a little bit, and I need to restructure and reorganize, and there's a lot to presentations to be made. So it's great. At least there's work's cut out for you.
No, it's a good idea. And I mean, I've got over 400 videos on my this channel alone. So a lot of times I think a lot of that work that I did in the past has gotten kind of swept away. So I'm looking to do some of the same stuff, at least represent it and show people some of those videos. So I'm going to be doing some of the same things. I think it's good. It's good to do.
Yeah.
So, all right. And a thank you to everyone that's my patron. You guys make this all possible. I really, really do appreciate it. What is this? Iru, you have a new PayPal? Iru?
He's
yeah,
out.
sorry.
Or he is.
No, I just sent you in private.
Okay.
So if you want to change it, because yes, I have a new one because I had trouble with the old one.
Okay, got you. But it's
Yeah, I'm also on the Patreon that /anthropology. So I ended up with the dLive, the Patreon,
Good.
and the so with all this anthropology thing on it.
That's
so it's
nice.
good. At least it's easy to remember. Huh?
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry.
No, it's good that you can do that because I mean I was kind of upset that somebody stole Globebusters for dLive. That's just not cool,
Right.
But it does happen. So but if people want to join my Patreon, that'd be awesome. Patreon.com/jeranism, and give $1 a month, give $5 a month. It really helps me. And if you enjoy the content, please contribute. And if you don't watch and click the thumbs down, and we'll all get on just fine. So that's that. And then if you want to mail me something, you can do that always at Jeranism, P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California, 95344. I do have a Venmo, which is only for the United States. I know that, but it's at Jeranism if you want to send a tip in that way. That'd be awesome. But other than that, we appreciate everybody being here as always. It was a fun show. You can get this on all your podcasts, supposedly. I've seen it on Overcast, so it takes a few days for the episode to upload, but as of right now, you can find all 4 of those on podcast players. So if you want to listen during work, it's just a few guys hanging out, having a chat, and we'll continue doing that for a while until people stop wanting to hear it.
And I saw that the podcast, there's a bunch of services where it's available. It's quite cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I have to big shout out for those who are helping with that. But big thank you. It's awesome when I get a chance to see people who are able to do that with some of the work that we're doing. So I really appreciate it. So that's about it. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. I remind you to do your own research because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till Sunday, guys. This has been Jeranism and Crew. Peace.